I'm not a fan of sex scenes in movies anyways. It comes off as awkward. That one was fine. That's probably one of my favorite ones just because you get it. Like,
yeah,
it's sensual, blah, blah, blah. But you don't see the gratuitous nudity or like the dude's flapping as they're like banging against the wall or some bull. Hello, and welcome to A Cast with No Name. We're your hosts. I'm Jay.
And I'm Matt.
This is episode 8, Tuesday, May 31st, 2022. This episode, we will discuss our top 5 favorite 80s comedies. But first, we have an exciting announcement.
Yes, we do.
The long-awaited, you tens of listeners have waited for a long time. We are happy to announce we have a new website. And the web address is acastwithnoname.com.
Original.
Very original.
We thought outside the box with that one.
Yeah. So we have a new website. You're able to comment on individual episodes on the website, acastwithnoname.com. Plus, we also have a write-in email. If you want to send in questions, send in topics for us to cover, any movie requests you'd like us to review.
Berate us.
Absolutely.
Tell us why Jay sucks.
Yes.
At analyzing movies.
Yes. Please go in depth or just one sentence, 3 words, whatever. We want to hear it all. So the web address will be in the description of this episode and all the past episodes, as well as our email. Our email is contact.acastwithnoname@gmail.com. So if you have time or if you care that much, please feel free to write to us. We'd love to hear from you. So
yeah, I want to hear what the listener in Russia has to say right now.
Yeah. the one guy.
Or the listener in Cameroon.
Yep.
Yeah.
So this is bad on us, but we haven't commented on our own page yet. But I'm pretty sure you can just comment. I think the only thing that's required is you have to submit an email. I'm not sure. Don't worry. We're not Facebook. We're not going to sell your email address. We don't give a shit.
I don't even know how to do that.
Yeah. It's no one would buy it anyways. So
it took us this long to
make it.
Make it.
Yeah.
Yes. This isn't brand new technology we're talking about here, folks.
Yeah. And when you go there, it's a very simple website. So it's not anything great, but it gets the job done. So
yeah, it's not McKinsey and PricewaterhouseCooper.
Yeah. Please feel free. If you have any advice on our website or anything you want us to add, let us know. So but yeah, we're super excited about that. And we're really eager to hear from you.
Absolutely.
So please write in, take time out of your day and make us happy.
Yes, please.
So, but yeah, that's it.
Yeah, it's great to be back, Jay.
Yeah.
What happened?
I got sick. I got the Rona.
I got the vid.
So yeah, we've been gone for a couple of weeks. 2 weeks ago, we both had work functions that we had to attend, and then we were going to record last Monday, but that previous day I tested positive for COVID. So I was having the time of my life this past week.
You sure were.
Yeah, it was fantastic. It's have you had it yet?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
I can't believe I didn't get it from you. Me and you had like an 80s movie marathon.
Yeah, we did. It was like the night before. I was sweating in your house when my fever broke.
You were sitting a foot away from me. We shared some chicken wings.
Yeah. We had chicken wings. We were drinking beers, and I'm surprised you didn't get it. It was weird.
Yeah.
Kids didn't get it. My wife didn't get it. Gave it to my parents though, so they're dealing with that. So that's that. But they're doing good. So, but yeah, it was just it sucked.
I know.
So dumb.
I know.
But yeah. So if
you survived.
Yeah.
You're right as rain.
Still here. I'm right as the mail. But yeah. However, a good thing that came from it, I swear, I watched so many movies.
You went on a Tom Hanks binge, right?
I did. I think I watched his 80s filmography and then touched on a couple of, I watched You Got Mail. I went onto a little Nora Ephron binge, watched that, and When Harry Met Sally.
All right.
But
she's a good writer.
Yeah,
I like her stuff.
Yeah, she does good work and did good work.
Tom Hanks 80s.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
Prime.
It's a good rabbit hole to go down.
Yep. But yeah, watched what else did I Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Oh yeah,
watched that because it was like one of those nights where I was just half asleep all day, and then by the time for bedtime I couldn't get to sleep, so
you just popped it on,
watched the whole thing. Love that movie too.
That is a good movie.
A lot of people don't like it, I guess. I mean,
I like it.
I think a lot of Hitchhiker diehard fans don't like it because it's different, but from my understanding, the book has had multiple versions because I think Douglas Adams rewrote the story somewhat, or he just kept revising it.
Yeah.
And then he did the radio show, and that was different from the book, and then the movie's different from the book. So it's like every time he did the story, he changed it up a little bit. And I haven't seen or listened. I tried reading the book. The book is funny. I got a little bit into it, and then life took over, and I just never got the chance to finish it. But I'm not aware of the different versions, so I don't know if he made those changes to appease the kind of medium that the story was being told through. So, like the BBC.
Who wrote this? What's his name?
Douglas Adams.
Okay.
So there's the book, which I think had a couple different versions. Then he did a BBC radio show, and that was slightly different. And I'm not sure if there was a TV show or not. I should have researched that, but fuck it.
Right.
But
can't do everything.
Yeah, from my understanding, I think it was different just based on whatever medium was applied.
Gotcha.
So
I like it. I like Martin Freeman.
Yeah, he's really good.
Yeah, it was funny.
I gained a lot of respect for him as an actor when I watched The Hobbit bonus features, because the appendices that Peter Jackson put together on the extended Blu-ray trilogies,
right?
You see him giving different delivery for each take. Right. And he was saying the same line, but his inflection was different. And he even commented on the bonus scenes. The reason why he does that is just to give editors and directors a lot more to work with. And he's like, yeah, just come up with as many different ways that I say or deliver a line. And that way they have a bunch of variations. They can pick the best one.
Yeah. His arc in that trilogy was great. Where he only cared about himself. And then it culminates to when Thorin dies. And you can just, well done.
Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah, he's really, I like him a lot. But yeah. So yeah, that's what I've been up to this past week.
Yeah.
Anything new with you?
No. Well, I watched a ton of 80s comedies to prepare for this episode.
Nice.
Yeah, a bunch. And we'll get into that. But no, I caught up on The Boys and Stranger Things with my wife. Because we're prepping for the new seasons that are coming out for both of those.
Yep.
Already almost all the way through part 1 of Stranger Things.
Yeah. I think we are 4 episodes in.
Okay. I do like the direction they're going. I'm a fan of it actually being pretty scary this season.
Yeah.
Just get a little creepy.
Robert Englund did a little cameo. Because
I was like, that's well done.
I turned to Christy. I was like, I wonder who, because he did Victor Creel.
Yes.
And I was wondering, I wonder who Victor Creel is. And I was like, it's got to be somebody because they're going to meet him. And I was like,
well, we talked about this over the week, and I was like, this is giving me like Nightmare on Elm Street vibes. A lot of the setup, going through the house and everything, and it's just a nice touch. Like Nightmare Warriors. And yes, nice touch. The Dream Warriors.
Dream Warriors.
Yeah, it's a nice touch they cast him because that's perfect. Yep.
So cool.
Other than that, no.
Yeah. New trailer dropped today, I think. A little teaser.
Yeah.
Pinocchio.
Sure did.
Upcoming Robert Zemeckis film. And starring Tom Hanks as Geppetto. And also has Joseph Gordon-Levitt as Jiminy Cricket. And Keegan-Michael Key is Honest John. Live action adaptation of the Disney animated classic. So this falls in line with the Cinderella live action remake they did, The Beauty and the Beast,
Lion King,
Aladdin. I forgot about those two.
Yes, they did all those, Jay. They're doing them all. Pocahontas is going to come out, and then Brother Bear, all that stuff is coming.
Brother Bear.
Yes.
What'd you think?
I mean, they didn't show a lot. It was only like a minute and a half, but it reminded me a lot of The Witches.
Okay. Yep. A recent adaptation that
is being directed by Robert Zemeckis.
Or reboot, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know enough yet to know if it'll be good or bad, but I don't like the fact that they're releasing it same day. I wish it would just be released in theaters. Which that right there makes me think that
it's not good.
Are they confident in this?
Yeah.
I don't think they are.
And that's becoming, I feel like, a telling sign to where if it's only in theaters,
Yep.
They're pretty positive it's going to be, they're willing to spend the money on the distribution.
Sure.
To get the movie seen.
Yep.
And to make that money. I felt the same way too. When I saw it was released same day, I was like, oh crap.
Yep. It's in September.
It's fine. Yeah. It's
September 4th.
Yeah. Eesh. It's well, is that Labor Day?
Just before. I think September 4th is the Friday before. I think it's Labor Day weekend.
Okay.
Pretty sure.
But
yeah,
we'll see.
I don't know if I like Tom Hanks doing. I think he was doing an Italian accent, which I was like, oh, it's like star bright. I wish I may.
Yeah, when he's rhyming in the window.
Yeah,
like when I saw the trailer and he was praying or wishing upon his star or whatever, and he was doing the recital. I understand it's line for line, but I was watching that, and the first thing I thought of, I thought it was like, it's a little weird. Just seeing Tom Hanks say that, I was like, that just seems awkward. Like, and then I thought, did Robert Zemeckis think the same thing when he was shooting this? Like, were they all on set and he just reads the line, and after they get done and Zemeckis yells cut, was everyone in that room be like, well, I guess that's the scene.
Right,
like,
right.
It just felt awkward and weird.
Yep.
It'll be interesting how it is. I'm not a huge Pinocchio fan. I've seen the movie that I can remember once. And I bought it just because I was in a phase of buying all Disney Blu-rays in preparation, knowing, okay, I'm going to have children someday. I might as well get the physical copy, the signature edition, whatever, with all the bonus features. Might as well get it, own it. And that way we have it. We don't have to buy it later.
Yep.
And that obviously that was before streaming became huge.
Like,
so now it's all available, and I'm like, well, fuck me, right? So yeah.
And then Disney Plus came out and ruined your whole plan.
Yep. So
I think Pinocchio is the second, right?
Yeah,
after
it was the
Snow
second.
White?
Yeah, it was the second animated feature, and it's just weird.
Oh God, yeah.
And
what is it? What's the island called? Where all the
Pleasure Island.
Yes. The smoking cigars and stogies.
Turn into donkeys and drinking alcohol.
Scene.
Yeah.
Woo. As a kid, that's a little jarring.
Which I never read the book. I'm not familiar with the original fairy tale, so I don't know how much they added, how much they kept. And I mean, all that could be in there. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know.
No, we'll see. I don't know.
It's I thought Cinderella was decent when it came out. Yeah. As far as the live action adaptation, Beauty and the Beast, I thought was
It's okay.
But I think Cinderella worked because it was an hour and 15 minutes was the movie. I mean, it wasn't that long. There really wasn't much there, but they kind of expanded on it. And I think that one turned out pretty well.
Yeah. But go back on Beauty and the Beast here. Didn't you make a comment where you thought Emma Watson's voice was underwhelming?
Oh yeah, it was. What was it? Your wife was like, "Oh, I think it's fine." I was like, "Sure, it's fine, but it definitely doesn't fill the room."
That's true. That's true.
But I felt like it was her whole performance, and that was Hermione 2.0. I haven't seen her in anything else, so I can't say if she's a good actress or not. She was Perks of Being a Wallflower or something like that.
I saw that one.
I don't know if she has any range or anything, but half the facial expression she had in Beauty and the Beast, I was like, oh, it's Hermione.
Yep.
She's reading a book. Yep. Hermione. I mean, they're similar characters, somewhat, but but yeah, her voice I thought was. I don't think it's not booming enough. I think they should have probably gotten a Broadway star to do that. Somebody or a singer that is able to act, hence Broadway or something. to be able to put that on
They
film.
were hedging their bets, though. They're like, oh, it's Emma Watson.
Yeah.
And she's a box office draw.
Yep. I also think they should have gotten The Rock to play Gaston.
Ooh, that would have been good.
I think that would have been awesome. I mean, Luke Evans is pretty good, but the Rock can just, like, he's really good at just playing that over the top, confident, like,
yes,
dickhead.
Yeah, he'd be great at it.
Yeah,
I don't know how he's singing. I mean, he did sing in Moana. I don't know. Mm-hmm. What's his name? Luke Evans.
Yeah,
he's got a pretty good voice.
Yeah, and I thought that was probably the best part of the movie, that musical number.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Gaston. Oh yeah.
But Luke Evans is also in Pinocchio. He plays the coachman. So,
who's the coachman? Is that the guy who captures Pinocchio first?
I think so.
All right. Takes him to Pleasure Island.
I think so. I think he's the guy that the carriage or he's the coachman. So
he's the coachman.
And then you have Cynthia Erivo, the Blue Fairy.
Yeah.
Which the Blue Fairy wasn't in the animated one that much.
Like one scene. They were the very first scene.
But Cynthia Erivo, she was in The Outsider, wasn't she?
Yes, she was.
Yeah, in Bad Times
I think she was nominated for an Oscar for Harriet Tubman.
Okay,
Harriet. She played Harriet Tubman.
Yeah.
I never saw that movie, but I'm sure she's going to be good.
I didn't see. Yeah, I mean, The Outsider. I thought she was really.
She's got a great voice. So.
Yeah, so that'll be.
There you go. She was in. Have you ever seen Bad Times at the El Royale?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
She was in that.
That was.
It's a great movie.
It's pretty good. I felt like that was a movie that should have came out in like the 2000s, like right next to Lucky Number 11 and like just those Smoking Aces, like those random, weird container movies or whatever take place in a single
setting. Yep.
Single setting. But yeah, she's good. So, I mean, I hope they boost up her role in the movie because if I remember correctly in the animated series, the Blue Fairy wasn't like just popped up at the end.
I think I don't even know if she popped up at the end.
And maybe made
she did.
Pinocchio a real boy or something like that.
Yeah, it could be. You could be right. But I don't remember. It's been so long since I've seen it.
But hopefully they boost up her presence because if it is, I think that's a waste of her talent.
I agree.
But that's Pinocchio. Anything else on that?
No, we'll see what happens when it comes out.
Cool. Obi-Wan.
Oh yes, let's get into that. So I've lost all hope in Disney Plus original series at this point, Jay. So you're going to be my conduit here.
Oh.
I hear like reviews and stuff and chatter on the interwebs and all that good stuff. So all I know is what people are saying. I haven't seen any of this shit. So what are your first impressions?
Again, I don't know who they're making this for.
All right.
I thought it would make sense if I was going to make an Obi-Wan show. It would be geared towards the older audience of people that enjoyed Ewan McGregor and the prequels, but also the original, like Alec Guinness.
Right.
And they wanted to see just kind of that story filled out in the middle. Also fans of the Clone Wars, people that are in their 20s.
Right.
And older.
20s and older. Yeah.
Yep. And
I like Ewan McGregor as I liked him.
I think a lot of people liked Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan. And only 2 episodes have come out so far. I watched both of them. I wasn't looking forward to this show, but from the trailers that I saw, I was like, well, I don't know who any of these people are that have red lightsabers. I didn't watch the Clone Wars. I didn't read any of the expanded universe books. So I was going into it blind, and which I enjoy because I want to see if they can make it make sense to people that haven't seen those things. Like I've seen the movies.
People like me.
Yeah.
Seen the movies, haven't seen anything else.
Yep. And I used to be big into Star Wars. I used to like the movies back when it was special, and then it's not so special anymore because you have everything under the sun. I think Mandalorian is fine. I think that has some pretty good episodes in it. I like the structure of that show because it reminds me of just episodic adventures.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed that. I didn't watch Solo. I didn't watch the Book of Boba Fett, just because Boba Fett, I think, is a nothing character. He was a nothing character in the original trilogy.
Oh, you're one of the people that's like, I don't understand why he's.
Yeah,
why is he a thing?
He was taken out by a blind Han Solo. The guy was a bitch. Like he's not a hard ass. The most memorable thing up into the movie, or up until the Book of Boba Fett, was the holiday special. I think Boba Fett was in that more than he was in the movies. But so I didn't understand the love for that character. I mean, other than the fact that he looked cool, he just looked like a weirdly painted stormtrooper to me. But
I have to admit, when I got into Star Wars, all I had was the Star Wars A New Hope VHS, and I would watch that until it was wore out. I never saw Empire Strikes Back or Return of the Jedi until probably I want to say 8th grade going into high school, to where I would, I forgot there's other movies to round out this trilogy. I might as well just, finish those out. And from when I was a kid watching Star Wars all the time to when I finally saw Empire and Jedi, everyone said Boba Fett, oh, it's such a badass character. Wait till Boba Fett, he's the guy in the cantina bar. What's it called? Jesus Christ.
Oh, and Jabba's palace?
No, in A New Hope, where they're in the little bar with all the aliens. Dun, 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 dun,
oh, he wasn't in there.
I thought he was watching Han Solo. He's in there like he's like, it's like a little snippet scene where he's just looking at Solo as he's talking to another.
Oh,
he eventually shoots.
They might have.
Is that in the special edition?
That might be.
All right. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, sidetrack. Everyone said Boba Fett's a badass character, which and then I see Empire, awesome, Jedi, and he dies like immediately.
Yeah.
In Jedi, like he's in like 5 minutes of these movies. So I'm with you. I don't understand either.
So I never watched that show. Watching the first 2 episodes, I'll give you my impressions of the first 2 episodes so far. First thing is, I felt like it was cheap.
Okay.
I felt, because I think there's only 6 episodes and it's a limited series. So it's not going to be, from my understanding, it's not going to be season after season. It's just going to be 6 episodes.
And that's it.
Ewan McGregor's pretty big star. So I can't imagine they could afford him. And I'm sure he has other things he'd like to do.
Sure.
But watched the first 2 episodes. It felt really cheap. I don't know if they went back to green screen, but I would watch The Mandalorian and they do the front projection for the set. And that looks awesome.
Yeah, it does.
And I thought the scenery, the sets and everything in The Mandalorian looked great. And then I watched this and I could see the outline along. So I don't know if they went back to green screen. I don't know if they were handcuffed for some reason because of COVID things or what. It didn't feel like they put the money into it. And I mean, the effects weren't there. There's a lot of people, like a lot of humans,
right?
Galaxy full of aliens. And I think I saw the Grand Inquisitor. I think he was an alien. And they had a scene to where they put the word out on all the bounty hunters when they were on this planet, and you saw a couple aliens there.
So Tatooine's full of humans. It's a refuge of humans.
Yeah. I mean, it was on Tatooine for a little bit. Like, you saw mainly humans, and then he goes to this other city or this other planet and more humans. And I'm like, okay, so there's no, all right, whatever. And the one alien that they showed, the Grand Inquisitor, was just a human in makeup.
Gotcha.
Maybe he had some prosthetics on, but it didn't. It just looked like pasty white makeup or something like that.
Gotcha.
But so it looked cheap. It didn't look. I brought up. I don't know who they made it for because it seemed very geared towards children.
Okay.
And I think some people probably have already brought this up. There's a chase scene which spoilers of whatever. I'm young, like you see young Luke and you see young Leia. They bring back Jimmy Smits, which is great.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So he's back playing Bail Organa. and you see Alderaan, which is good. Okay. And because it gets blown up at the beginning of New Hope.
Yep.
But then you see young Leia, and young Leia is typical young Leia. She's independent. She likes to play in the woods, and she doesn't like doing the prissy princess stuff. She wants to do her own thing. She's supposed to be, I think, 10 in this. But she gets kidnapped by Flea of the Red Hot Chili Peppers. And which he's fine. I think he's an okay actor. Like, the role that he's playing is a good role for him to play. It's just
so is he just a henchman?
Yeah, just a scummy kidnapper guy. But him and his crew are trying to kidnap Leia, and she's running away at the speed of smell. And I credit to the adult actors. They're trying to make it look really, really difficult to catch her when she's not barely running. And she went under a branch, and then the guy ran into the branch and it stunned him.
Gotcha.
That wasn't directed very well.
Okay.
I think they could have done that a little bit better. Maybe they were limited by the physicality of the kid, or just the set, or the timing, or whatever. But it felt like they could have had it to where, yeah, she can't move fast, but put it in a setting to where she can get to places quickly.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Like either climbing or something, or squeezing in tight places, but it was just like out in the open. And it was embarrassing watching adults try to,
like you said, made for kids.
Yeah. So she doesn't listen. It's whatever. It's just how I have more problems with how they wrote the character, not necessarily the actress. But I don't know. It's only 2 episodes in. We'll see where the arc goes. But I like the direction they took that in, because now that's going to give a reason why Leia sends a message out in A New Hope to Obi-Wan. It gives an explanation of why she knows who Obi-Wan is.
Okay.
And why she trusts in Obi-Wan to be able to help her. Because up until this point, you have no idea, like, Obi-Wan was on Tatooine looking after Luke the entire time. How did Leia know? So this kind of creates a story that gives background on that, which I'm looking forward to. But I don't know. I just, so far it's a letdown. There's 4 episodes left. Hopefully it'll get better. The main villain, I understand, I thought was the Grand Inquisitor. I thought he was going to be the big bad of the episode. Nope. He gets killed in the 2nd episode by generic angry person. Moses Ingram is the actor. Inquisitor Reva. Another human. I'm pretty sure you see her at the beginning of the show. They show younglings training, and I think you see her as a child. Okay. Because that's the opening of the show, is when Order 66 is going, and you get some kind of cool scenes of the Jedi that's training the younglings. Stormtroopers come in, she deflects a blaster, takes care of them, and she's trying to help them escape. She eventually gets taken down, and then the kids are left by themselves, and they run away, and you just see like this wide shot of all these lightsabers, and then they slowly dim out. Cool, kind of cool scene. But I think you see her as a kid, and then Obi-Wan makes a comment of, a lot of Inquisitors, which Inquisitors are just people that hunt Jedi.
Right.
A lot of Inquisitors were former Jedi that were turned to the dark side.
Gotcha.
So you're assuming that she was probably young as a Jedi, as well as some of these other Inquisitors that you meet, and they turn to the dark side. My theory is he's probably going to bring Reva back to the light side, and that maybe instills in his mind, okay, people can come back from the dark side
to the light. Yep.
To the light. And maybe that's why he tells Luke whatever.
Gotcha.
So that's what I think her character is going to, I think she's going to be redeemed, and that's going to give Obi-Wan a sense of, people can be redeemed.
Gotcha. That's thinking that Darth Vader could come back to the light.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which it's been a while since I saw the original trilogy, but I don't know if he was like really that hardcore about, bring back Vader from the.
If I remember right,
because I know Yoda wasn't. Yoda was all about you need to confront Vader.
Yeah.
And kill him.
Yeah.
Like you need to get rid of him.
Yeah.
But
I don't remember that. I didn't have that feeling. I thought that he just trusted Luke. He had so much confidence in Luke being such a force for good, and he was going to triumph no matter what, whether that be he turned Darth Vader back to the light, or he just, like you said, straight up
and maybe
kills him.
And something that might the show bring is a different meaning to the title of A New Hope. So instead of just A New Hope of bringing balance to the Force, maybe it's A New Hope of bringing Vader back to the light side.
Yeah.
And that could play on double meanings throughout that whole trilogy. Is like, oh, Luke is our last hope to bring Vader back, or something like that.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I don't know. But no, her character Reva is not interesting at all.
Okay.
I think if they do want to bring her back from the dark side, they want to go that route. They should have kept the Grand Inquisitor the main baddie. So and then you could still have that arc with Reva to because she's insubordinate. She's not listening to anybody, which is fine. But the Grand Inquisitor's like, oh, don't do that. Like, I feel like he would just straight up murder her.
Oh, gotcha.
If she was being insubordinate, like, because she goes against him like 3 times within the span of 5 minutes and fucks it up for everybody. And he's like, stop looking for Obi-Wan. Stop looking for Obi-Wan. She doesn't. And then messes it up, or like some kidnapping or whatever. And then then he gets murdered. But I don't know. He was at least interesting because he looked different. He had looked like an alien. It is a different character. And now it's like, okay, so we have a bunch of humans in this galaxy of whatever.
Wait, if he's a Grand Inquisitor,
I think he was probably just the leader of the Inquisitor tribe. I thought or something
he might
like
have had more presence in the Force. He was more at one with the Force.
Maybe.
Maybe one of his underlings wouldn't get the jump on him.
I assumed because they weren't technically Sith.
Okay.
They're just Dark Force users. And I imagined he was the more powerful Dark Force user because he was kind of in control over his little group, which was Inquisitor Reva and then the 5th brother, Sun Kang, which he was in Fast and Furious. But is another
sounds
Inquisitor.
Like he was.
Tokyo. Yeah, he plays Han. And
okay.
But yeah, I don't know. We'll see where it goes. Okay. I'm not impressed so far. It's I don't know what they're doing with Leia's character. Hopefully they give her some kind of an arc, because I feel like she's just a 10-year-old version of the princess. Now, what I think would have been interesting, and again, we're only 2 episodes in, what I think would have been interesting is Obi-Wan is pretty resourceful. And it would have been great if Leia was just, because she grew up as a princess, she knows nothing else, to where if she was just prissy, snot-nosed little kid, and didn't have any kind of survival skills or any kind of resourcefulness. She was just very like weighted on hand and foot. And Obi-Wan was the one to teach her those things. I think that would have been a nice touch, because when you see her in A New Hope and she's like, well, someone's got to save our skins, and she's helping them out of the debt, then you could look at that like, she got that from Obi-Wan.
Right, exactly.
And where Obi-Wan not only trained Anakin, but he also, in essence, trained both of them on
the Skywalkers.
Yeah.
There you go.
Would have been great. Again,
nice little circle.
Two episodes in, maybe he teaches her patience or something. I don't know.
Right.
But 2 episodes in, we'll see.
Yeah.
But the production quality I thought was lacking compared to The Mandalorian. But the acting's pretty good.
Yeah. Pretty good.
I mean, for Obi-Wan, yeah. There's Camille Nanjiani is in it. He's funny.
Wait, which one is he?
He was in Silicon Valley.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
He was also the Eternals that nobody saw.
Oh, gotcha. Which one was he?
He was one of the Eternals. Not Angelina Jolie.
Yeah. Well, the criticism I heard of it, which kind of goes on par with what I think a lot of these shows are doing now. It's the typical bait and switch thing where you go to watch a show and you think, okay, it's going to be about Obi-Wan Kenobi, but it's not really about Obi-Wan Kenobi. They did the same thing with, I've heard Moon Knight, and the new Halo series I've heard is the same thing. And I saw the preview for Willow. That's what's going to happen with Willow. I already know it. So there's that criticism. And again, the fact that, the Grand Inquisitor died right off the bat. I heard people are not, they just don't understand why they made that choice.
I thought he was a unique, he looked different. He was, I was eager to learn more about him, and he gets taken out like a punk. And
yeah,
I'm like, all right, well, I guess that guy's gone, and
right,
he's replaced by an angry woman.
Yeah,
good job.
Yep.
Like, I guess.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, but go ahead. What else with the? I mean,
that's mainly it. They're people are mad and angry that they're utilizing these series as like jumping off boards. They lure people in with a well-known name, and the show is not about that well-known name.
Yeah,
it's getting tiresome at this point. Just make a show that focuses on the character and call it that what you want.
Yeah,
you don't have to brand it. It's an Obi-Wan Kenobi show. If it's not about Obi-Wan Kenobi, then just be truthful.
Mm-hmm.
People won't get so up in arms about it.
Yeah, and I don't know what arc they plan on having with Obi-Wan. I have a feeling that he's kind of lost touch with the Force, because at the beginning you see him in hiding. He buried his lightsabers. He's trying not to acknowledge his past life. He's working as a butcher. And
this kind of reminds me of like Last Jedi with Luke hiding and trying to forget about his past life
a little bit. And I think it's but it makes sense for Obi-Wan because you see the downfall. He fought like hell to try and but they lost.
But he failed.
It was like in his mind it's Yoda and I.
Yeah.
And that's it. And his only concern is now looking after Luke. And he just kind of turns his back on everything else, which that makes a lot more sense than Luke doing that because you don't see that progression. It's, hey, you destroyed the Empire. And then Last Jedi, oh, I'm hiding out on this rock because I had a bad dream.
Right.
Fucking movie. I hate that fucking movie. Anyways, but the
open up past traumas over
here. But so I think he's lost touch with the Force, and maybe that's because it looks like it was there's a scene when Leia falls and he stops her from hitting the ground, but it looks like it's very tough for him to do that. Like he's not as one with the Force as what he was.
Okay.
So his affinity with the Force is gone. So maybe it's going to be him getting back in touch with the Force.
Could be.
Because he's going to have to learn how to be a Force ghost, which involves Qui-Gon Jinn and him talking with and all that nonsense.
That's true.
2 episodes in, we'll see where it goes. But yeah, so far I get what you're saying with the bait and switch thing. It feels like Leia's the main character a little bit.
Okay.
Just because that has, for the 2 episodes, that has been the main goal is, she's kidnapped. Now we got to get her back.
Gotcha.
It does show Obi-Wan's life a little bit. And I think maybe that's what people have a problem with. Like, this isn't about Obi-Wan. I mean, it kind of is about Obi-Wan, but it's just not the Obi-Wan you saw when you last left him.
Yeah.
He's been in the desert for 10 years.
Gotcha.
But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
I don't have high hopes for it. I didn't have high hopes going into it, so
it's kind of disappointing news that the production quality is not very good.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest disappointment and the biggest shock for me is that because I thought The Mandalorian looks really good.
It does.
And
well, that what's it called again? Force projection.
Front projection.
Front projection. Well, they did a lot of that in the Batman. And
oh, did they?
Oh yeah, when he's on the skyscraper and everything, that's all that's front projection.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I love the technology.
Oh yeah, it's awesome.
It's cool. But yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. I'm probably not going to watch him, so I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, I'll let you know how it ends. Right. If Reva comes back to the light side from the dark side, they could have kept the Grand Inquisitor in there. They could have had that battle.
Yeah, it would have been like Emperor Palpatine and Darth.
Maybe it would have been too similar to that. Maybe that's why they didn't do it. Who knows? But
they remade the trilogy.
Yeah, yeah, I know. Yeah, exactly. Like, oh, we can't remake this again. But it's like poetry; it rhymes.
Exactly. It's a haiku, Wayne.
So
sorry, Garth. But Garth, that's a haiku. All right. All right. Well, you want to move on?
Yeah. Let's move on.
Let's do it.
Top 5 80s comedies.
Yeah.
Ooh. What's your?
Jay, I was super excited about making this list.
There are way too many good.
I know.
80s movies.
It's tough.
80s comedies. Period.
Oh God.
To do this.
Oh yeah.
I think I texted you. I think 2 days after we recorded our last episode because I think I just Googled. I was like, I want a list of all 80s comedies that were released. Jesus, it was a lot of. I was like, God, like half of them I forgot they were in the 80s, and then half of them are like, oh gee, I forget that. It's a funny.
A lot of them I was like, oh man, I remember that being really funny, but I haven't seen it in so long.
Mm-hmm.
Like since I was a teenager. So does it still hold up? And there were a couple in there. I'm like, that's on the list. I already know it.
Yeah. But
then I'm gonna watch it anyway just to make sure.
Did you want to talk about criteria?
Sure, let's do it.
And then we'll start from the bottom up. And these are our favorite ones, favorites. Not necessarily the best, what we think is it's our favorite ones.
It's our favorite ones.
So if you like a movie that's not on this list, don't be butthurt. It'll be okay.
Just calm the fuck down.
Yeah. But let us know in the comments how hurt you are, how hurt you are at acastwithnoname.com.
Yes.
But
wait, what was that again?
Acastwithnoname.com.
Oh, a cast with no name.
A cast. Or if you type in castwithnoname.com, you still get there.
It redirects you.
It redirects you.
Perfect. Yeah. Wow. So, technology.
Yes.
For the win.
Boom. But yeah, let's talk about our criteria. Do you want to touch on honorable mentions before we get into the final 5?
Let's do that
because there's a lot that were.
What do we got here? 30? I think I got 30 movies.
Oh, do you?
I'll only touch on like 5 though.
Yeah, I got about 22.
Well, I'll start with my criteria.
Yes.
I was on the fence. What am I going to do? Am I going to do comedies that were just good movies with a few chuckles here and there, so it could be classified as a comedy, or it's just a good movie with a lot of action? Story arc was great, but not necessarily laugh out loud funny. So I just went with laugh out loud funny. My criteria was made me laugh out loud a majority of the time. Could be a little corny. It had to have a story arc, but just a good time to where I could pop it on and I would laugh no matter what.
Okay.
So that's it. Just laugh out loud, funny a majority of the time.
My criteria was, I didn't know how I wanted to go about it because I knew I wanted the writing to be important because I think we can get into a rabbit hole of any actor. Like you have actors like Chevy Chase. Yeah. Who's just funny, and he could probably make The Phone Book funny. It doesn't mean it's well written. It's
probably a scene of
it's
him
just he's a funny
book.
Person. So I wanted to make sure the writing was funny, and I wanted it to be an actual movie. That might sound, for example, like Caddyshack. A lot of people bring up Caddyshack as one of their favorite 80s comedies.
Yeah.
I rewatched that, and it's not a movie. It's a bunch of skits put together based around a country club, which is fine. And yeah, there's a loose story arc of Danny Noonan, and then he wins a bet golf tournament.
It's a side plot.
It's a side plot, but the crux of the movie is a bunch of these short little skits, funny scenarios that they put in there, which is fine. It's still very entertaining it's funny. But I feel like it was that first. It was a bunch of skits. Wouldn't it be funny if this was in a movie? Yeah. Wouldn't it be funny if it wasn't like, I don't feel like it was written as like full stories first. Now let's make it funny kind of a thing. Or
Yeah, the story arc was the afterthought.
But yeah, so my criteria, and I didn't want to. I picked different kinds of comedies because I didn't want.
I did too.
5 goofy like slapstick comedies or anything like that. So I tried to make it varied slightly, and I tried not to have the same actor,
same director.
I
did the same thing.
So I tried to have some kind of variety, but all of these movies, for me, one, I enjoy, and a lot of them I just grew up watching quite a bit. But like some of the honorable mentions, I mean, but most of them are, I try to have technically good movies,
sure,
kind of a thing, for one reason or another.
Yeah, a couple of mine I grew up watching as a kid. My favorite one I watched as a kid, but it was never one of my favorites. But rewatching it as an adult, as I got older, it just gets funnier and funnier.
Yeah.
What
were some of your honorable mentions?
Well, like you said, I didn't want to go. I got to the point where I was like, wow, like Eddie Murphy just made so many good ones. I'm like, okay, so I can't pick, I'm not going to pick 3 Eddie Murphy movies. Or, John Landis was just like on a roll in the 80s, making Coming to America and Trading Places and all these classics. Okay, if I'm going to pick, I'm just going to pick one John Landis one.
Okay.
Harold Ramis. Okay, I'll pick one Harold Ramis one, or whatever the case may be. But one that just missed out, because there was a lot of good romantic comedies in the 80s, but this is a great movie. It's just not laugh out loud funny. Like the top 5 are, is When Harry Met Sally.
Yep.
Great movie.
It missed my top 5 too, but it's probably my favorite romantic comedy.
It's a great
it's a good comedy. Adult comedy where the comedy comes from the adult situations because they still apply today.
Oh yeah. Universal.
And they're not, it's not like Something About Mary to where, that's an adult romantic comedy in a way, but it's like real goofball kind of stuff, but it's just more of a low key adult situational humor.
Yeah. It's one of those movies where there's Something About Mary is a good example to where, the situation where he zips his nuts in his pants is always going to be laugh out loud funny. And it will continue to be, no matter how many times I see that scene. But When Harry Met Sally, when they have in their conversations, men and women can't be friends. Like the first time you watch that, you're like, you're laughing.
Every guy has probably told that to a girl in his life at some point.
Yeah.
And I mean, those conversations, they still apply. It's just one of those things that everyone grows up thinking.
Yes.
And obviously you get older.
Or the scene where she's in the Katz's Deli and she does the orgasm, that whole thing. Like the first time you see that, you do laugh. Like, oh God, this is, but after you see it, it's like, okay, It loses the sting a little bit after you've seen it so many times.
It does, and that scene goes on a long time.
It does.
Like I rewatched that, and I was like, "Oh, this is where she wraps it up." Oh nope, she's still going. Yeah,
she's still going. I'll have what she's having. Yeah. Great line. That was ad-libbed.
Really?
Yes, that's Rob Reiner's mom.
Oh, that's
Rob Reiner's mom, nice. And she said she just ad-libbed it.
My favorite thing in that movie is the stupidest thing. It's when they start the road trip at the very beginning of the movie, and Billy Crystal reaches in the back, he grabs a thing of grapes, and he eats the grapes, and then he spits it out the window. It's so stupid, but it's like, and then
I'll roll down the window. Yeah, that's good. But they do a great job. I like the whole setup of it where, 5 years later, and because that's what would actually happen.
Especially like in a city of that size, it gets the probability of that happening and running into it minimal. But in a city that size, if they were, it would probably be years apart, and it was structured well. But a good movie, but not typically.
Yeah. It's a testament to the writing though. Nora Ephron's a great writer.
Yeah. I agree with the
I like Rainer's direction too, with the when they're on the phone with all the different people. It looks like a panel, like a comic book panel.
Yep.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, and the timing of that scene and everything else.
I heard it was like 66 takes to nail that.
I can believe that.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't, because you would have to have Well, I mean, they were probably right next to each other.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but
a lot of fast talking.
Yeah.
So yeah, barely missed my list.
What else barely missed your list?
I thought I was going to pick an Eddie Murphy movie, Jay. I ended up not.
No?
Nope. Because like, for instance, Beverly Hills Cop, it's funny, but it's more of just a good action comedy movie than it is just a comedy.
That's why I didn't pick I didn't pick an Eddie Murphy movie either. And the same reason. Beverly Hills Cop is probably one of my favorite Eddie Murphy movies.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I don't think of it as a comedy. I mean, I think of it as an action comedy. So it's a subgenre of it, which but I feel like at its heart, it's an action movie.
Yeah.
Because Eddie Murphy is in it, it was funny.
Oh yeah.
If they got a different lead actor in it, it would have been an action movie. It would have been a revenge movie or some kind of thing like that.
Weren't they going to have somebody else be cast in that movie besides Eddie Murphy? I can't remember who. Because the first time I heard the name, I was like, really? You were going to cast that person?
I honestly think if that is the case, then that's why it became an action comedy. Because Eddie Murphy was in it.
Yeah.
But he doesn't play like a goofball. The movie's not played as a comedy. Yeah, there's funny situations in it, like a banana in the tailpipe. Yeah. But yeah, it's an action movie. It's a cop thriller. Yep. Nah, not thriller, but I mean it's an action comedy. It's an action first. It's cop drama. Comedy. Yeah. Secondary, tertiary.
And even the build up, like the story itself is kind of generic. Like it ends like a mansion shootout, and it's okay. You know, it's nothing like crazy. Like the revelation, they're smuggling cocaine, and in order to hide the smell, it's over coffee beans. Yeah, it's like, okay. It's a showcase for Eddie Murphy's talent. Yeah, which is fine. Another one, Coming to America, was very close. Yeah, it's probably it was between. So I watched Trading Places with you. It wasn't as funny as I remember it. It's still good, but some of the jokes are dated, and it's okay. It's all right. Yeah, it's still good, but it's okay. But Coming to America is my favorite Eddie Murphy comedy from the 80s. It was very close to.
I would agree with that, just because he does his shtick of dressing up as a bunch of different characters and everything else. Like
it's a comedy.
It's enjoyable.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I wanted to put Ghostbusters on there, but I didn't. Yeah. Yeah.
Ghostbusters is another one of those. I think that was written as a comedy.
Yep.
It's a funny movie. It's supposed to be scary comedy. I don't know. Yeah. It's not really, but I really like Ghostbusters. I watched it a lot when I was a kid. Oh yeah. But when I think of favorite comedies, for some reason, I don't think of Ghostbusters. I think of Ghostbusters as just a good movie.
It is a great movie.
Like, I don't think of, I mean, some of the characters, they're not, with Ghostbusters, it's weird because it has some comedy in it. You have some comedic characters like Lewis and some of the comic relief. You have Bill Murray that I think is just charming.
Yeah. Doing Bill Murray
and just being a funny person. But it doesn't feel like a comedy. It's weird. It feels like I don't know. Like they're playing it too straight. I don't know how to describe it, but
if this makes sense like this, it might make my top 5 movies from the 80s. It might do that. If I had to make a list of my top 5 favorite movies from the 80s, it might be on there.
I think that's a good point. Yeah, because if you were going to separate it, like if you were judging a movie strictly based on being a comedy, I mean, I think Ghostbusters is better than that. I think it's a better movie than just being a comedy. Not that being a comedy means it's a lesser movie. No. But it has other things going on that made it good.
It's like a near perfect movie. It really is.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty close.
Yeah, it's awesome. Vacation almost made my list. Yeah. Very close. It's because it was the criteria. I didn't want to have 2 Chevy Chase movies in there. Yeah. It was very close, but God, my favorite line is when he gets lost in St. Louis And he stops for directions to get back on the highway. Hey, could you tell me what the interstate is, sir? And he goes, man, fuck your mama. Thank you very much. It's so good. It almost made my list for that line alone. It's so good. Oh, love it.
The some of my honorable mentions was similar kind of aspect to where I didn't pick Beverly Hills Cop because I consider that more of an action movie. Action cop. I mean, it's funny because Eddie Murphy's in it. But it could have easily gone a different direction. But the two I had problems with as far as, I mean, I had Christmas Vacation on my list, Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Yes, I was close to putting those on too.
Money Pit, but When Harry Met Sally, Real Genius.
Yeah,
I really like a lot.
I had to narrow down. I had to pick one John Hughes movie.
Yeah,
I had to.
Biloxi Blues I had on there, except that was a Neil Simon play. So I was like,
seen that.
It's pretty good. It's got Matthew Broderick and Christopher Walken in it, and it's
Christopher Walken.
Whoa,
I'm funny.
He's really good at that movie. He plays a drill sergeant, and
so it's like a boot camp movie.
Yeah, it's a boot camp movie.
Okay.
And I got over there if you want to borrow it.
So it's like Full Metal Jacket, but lighter.
Yeah, it's a lot lighter. Than Full Metal. Yeah, they probably came out around the same time actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I kind of, when I got to fill in the bottom two of my top five, I had to pick ones that were more close to my heart, not necessarily the ones that I think are still funny, but I picked them up, put them on there for different reasons.
Sure.
But one of the ones that didn't make it, that I rewatched while I had the Rona, was Dragnet. Tom Hanks and Dan Aykroyd, simply because of the landlady scene.
I haven't seen it
I need to show that to you, yeah. But scene in there, this landlady's just cussing up a storm because Dan Aykroyd and Tom Hanks plays the younger partner, kind of loose. He's kind of more hippie-ish, and Dan Aykroyd plays like the tight-laced Joe Friday.
Yeah,
does things by the book and can recite the code of ethics or the code book and everything else.
What I remember from that movie is I remember Dan Aykroyd. It felt like he was in the 1955 Dragnet movie.
Yep.
And then he was placed in that 1980s setting.
Yeah.
And everyone else is acting like from the 80s around
him.
Yep.
Yeah. He was definitely out of place in that movie, which is fine. And it worked because everyone played off of that. Everyone was just looking at him like, you fucking serious?
Right.
You had Christopher Plummer in there playing a priest. You had Dabney Coleman playing a Hugh Hefner-esque
love Dabney Coleman. Oh, he's the man.
Style person. But I rewatched that, and
is Dabney Coleman your favorite like supporting actor from the 80s?
I think so.
Yeah, he's awesome.
He's just a staple.
Yeah.
Every time he just pops up into something like Boardwalk Empire or some other like later movie, I'm just like,
yeah,
Dabney,
he's great.
You glorious man.
Glorious man.
But another one that didn't make the top five, but was very, very close, was The Great Outdoors, another Dan Aykroyd movie, and
I was close.
This time with John Candy. I love Dan Aykroyd in that role, the very slick, well-spoken person. Like he does two roles. He can do like a Ray, and who's kind of like a slob or like kind of all over the place, and then he's very good at like he could be a professional businessman,
like Zelensky from Tommy Boy.
Yeah. That almost made it. And The Man with Two Brains almost made it, which is a Steve Martin movie in 1983. And that is a slapstick, just one of those bonkers comedies. It's kind of a spoof off, or not necessarily spoof, a little bit of spoof, like the Frankenstein kind of movie.
Yeah.
And where he plays a brain surgeon, he does brain transplants and shit.
Steve Martin was in so many good movies.
Yeah.
He was almost on a couple. Actually, never mind. I won't spoil anything.
Yeah. But he was that movie was very close. It was a movie my dad showed me way back when. It looks like an old movie. It came out in 83. But 82 E.T. came out.
Yeah.
And Ghostbusters, I think, came out in 84. Man with Two Brains feels like it came out in like 74.
Huh.
Like it just feels like the old look of it looks like an old movie.
Is it in black and white?
No. I think Young Frankenstein.
Okay.
Oh shit. Did that come out in the 80s?
79.
Okay, good.
I already checked.
Good.
I thought about that. I was like, I really like Young
because I was like, man, I thought just it was like Spaceballs and History of the World Part 1 was.
Oh god,
but
I love History of the World Part 1. Great. That was close.
But yeah, Man with Two Brains. Yeah. There's pretty good Steve Martin scenes.
Wait, when did Life of Brian come out?
That was 80s.
Was it?
I think so.
See, I'm missing stuff.
That had the whole witch scene, didn't it?
No, that was the Holy Grail.
Holy Grail.
Yeah, that was like 74. So.
They all just merge into one.
I know.
Thing, but yeah,
the Life of Brian has that the scene with the fat ass in the restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god, I cried. That's so good, so good.
But but I'm going to touch on this a little bit later. But Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. It wasn't in my top 5. It wasn't even. There's funny parts. It's not a comedy.
No.
And that was another criteria. If it's a family, like there are some family films that have humor in them. It's not a comedy. There's some action movies
like the Goonies
that have, like the Goonies.
Yeah.
It's not a comedy. Beverly Hills Cop. It's an action movie. It's got some humor in it. It's not a comedy.
Yeah.
It's funnier than most, but I
agree.
don't consider it. But
yeah.
But Honey Shrunk the Kids, there's a line in there. It's at the beginning of the movie, and Zelensky's doing some kind of experiment and just made like a loud noise or whatever. And Matt Freer, Jesus Christ. Matt Freer, Max Headroom is the neighbor, and he opens up the window. He's like, Zelensky, it's Saturday. It slams the window, gets back into bed because they're going on a camping trip.
Yeah.
Wife's laying in bed like, you should take it easy, blah, blah, blah. He's like, oh, God, I want to get some sleep. I got a 4-hour drive ahead of us. That's the line. Have you ever needed to get sleep because you had a 4-hour drive ahead of you?
No, sure not.
I don't know if they said that on purpose, but I have a theory because I think that movie takes place in Chicago. I think people from Chicago, and Chicago listeners, I'm sorry, but I don't think you have a firm grasp as far as how long it takes to get somewhere or what constitutes a long drive.
Yeah.
Which is shocking because you could ride the L in Chicago for an hour just to get, like, it takes you 3 hours to go to the grocery store.
That's right. It does. No, I've experienced that.
Yeah.
For sure.
So, but yeah, that line cracks me up, and I'll allude that somewhere else. But those were my Dragnet, Great Outdoors, Man with Two Brains.
Yep.
I mean, When Harry Met Sally, Christmas Story, Christmas Vacation. That, and I didn't want to talk about those because it's the more. I feel like we're going to do a Christmas episode anyway.
I feel like holiday movies could be a thing.
Yeah,
that could be a thing. And also, I thought of movie. I had movies on here that I thought would be on the list, but after rewatching them, they were funnier when I was a kid than I find them today.
Like what?
The Breakfast Club.
Okay. Yep.
It's a coming of age movie, and there's some intense topics in there, like child abuse and all that stuff. And we were talking about it's funnier when you're a kid because you see teenagers in the movie, but they say fuck and look at
they're running around, they're skipping out of detention,
smoking weed,
doing cool stuff.
The same thing can be said about Fast Times. I remember thinking that was one of the funniest movies as a kid, and I saw it like a year ago, and it has funny moments, but it's not.
Yeah,
like laugh out loud funny anymore. Not really.
And I think a lot of that just has to do with your point of view. Get old. I mean, because we're looking at it as adults.
Yeah.
Because we watched Breakfast Club.
Yep.
On Saturday as well. Yeah. We didn't even finish it. It was because it was like, oh, he's talking about child abuse. That's fun. That's a good time for all.
Exactly.
Oh, we have a couple of kids in here that probably have mental health problems.
Yes.
Oh, they're talking about raping and impregnating a cheerleader, and so that's great. So I mean, obviously, but kids talk that way.
Sure.
I mean, Jesus, if you recorded what every generation of high school people say, it's all horrible.
You'd be appalled.
But that's one thing that John Hughes did very well. He was able to capture that voice and be aware of it when he did his writing.
Yeah, great writer.
But like you said, it's not a comedy. It's more of a drama when you're an adult and you're looking at it.
It is a drama for sure. Especially Fast Times, teenage pregnancy, and it's not very
Yeah.
That movie takes a fucking turn, and it's like, what the hell is going on?
I can't listen to that song.
Oh, by the car? Is it the Cars?
Something. She must be somebody's baby.
Oh, yeah.
Every time that's on the radio, I change it because I always think of the dugout scene, and I'm like, oh, some chick's getting pregnant and is gonna have to go get an abortion. So I was like, no,
thank you.
Yeah, it's not. But yeah, that movie ruined that song for me. And I just can't listen to it anymore.
I thought you were going to talk about the song when Phoebe Cates comes out of the pool. It's like,
oh no. Judge Reinhold.
Yeah, that is a great scene though. That is pretty funny. Oh my God.
All right, number 5 for you.
You want to go into it?
Yeah, let's get into it.
Sorry.
Just throw it in there.
All right, probably my favorite sports comedy of all time, Major League.
Yep.
That's number 5. If you've never seen it, David S. Ward directed it and wrote it. He wrote The Sting. I don't know if you ever saw that with Robert Redford.
Yep.
He actually co-wrote Sleepless in Seattle, and he directed Down Periscope, which is one of my favorite spoof comedies because I used to be on a sub, and that one's pretty good. But I mean, what's not to like about Major League? It's about the Cleveland Indians and the Cleveland Guardians.
Oh, they changed the name.
They changed the name.
Is that really going to stick? Like,
oh, it's stuck. It's there now. They're no longer the Cleveland Indians. So if you're watching this, post
sports, 2000, you can tell I'm a huge baseball fan.
Post 2022, and you're watching this, after, you're going to be confused. Who are the Cleveland Indians? You're going to think it's a made up like baseball franchise, but they actually existed. They're known for being just pathetic losers, more so than the Cubs. So it's a story about the owner doesn't want to live in Cleveland anymore, so she finds a clause with the city that if attendance is below like 600,000 for the year, you're allowed to relocate. And she wants to relocate to Miami. So she just hires what she thinks is a downtrodden manager, and she gives them a list of no-name players, and this is what you have to work with. You get Willie Mays Hayes and Ricky Vaughn, Jake Taylor, Pedro Serrano, Roger Dorn. You get all these cast of kooky characters and just full of fantastic one-liners. And I mean, James Gammon, the guy who plays Lou Brown, the manager, is the best part of that movie to me.
I'm tired of this nickel and dime stuff.
I'm too old to go running in the lockers. My favorite part of him, the favorite line I think is when they're calling up. He's like, "Hey Lou, it's Charlie whatever from the Cleveland Indians. How'd you like to manage the club?" "Oh, I don't know." "Hey Charlie, let me call you back. I got another guy in the line about some white walls. I'll talk to you later." It's just great, man. And then you got Bob Uecker, who plays Harry Doyle.
Yep.
The announcer. And Bob Uecker is the actual play-by-play announcer for the Milwaukee Brewers. So he jumps in here and he's the play-by-play guy for the Indians.
Just a bit outside.
Just a bit outside. Ball 4, ball 8, ball 12. The best one he has there is box score. Athletics 6, Indians 0, hits 1. 1? That's all we got? One goddamn hit. He's like, you can't say goddamn. He's like, don't worry about it. No one's listening anyway. And then Charlie Sheen's just great in it. He plays Ricky Vaughn, who they got from the California Penal League. Yeah, he's his best scene is when he's in the fancy restaurant and he's got like sleeveless denim on with a tie, and he's like, I look like a banker in this.
Yeah, Major League is
it's so good.
Sports comedies that came, like, was it Slapshot? I'm trying to think of like The Longest Yard. I mean, Longest Yard was more, that was a prison league, not professional, but just taking the sports movies, putting the comedic twist in there.
Yeah. The only thing that drags about it is the love story between Tom Berenger and Rene Russo. But I love Rene Russo, so I really don't care. And you kind of needed something to, because Tom Berenger's like a downtrodden catcher. He's getting his last chance. You need him to like have something to aim towards. Because to prove that I'm not a worthless piece of shit.
Yeah.
So
there's something to my life other than baseball.
Exactly. And that's how I can, because I have that, I can inspire the troops to outperform themselves. He's going to be the leader of the club.
Yeah.
So that's why they put it in there. But I mean, other than that, I mean, it's just so good. And to this day, those jokes don't age.
Yeah.
It's, if you've ever played sports, just what they say, especially the managers and the coaches, you know, who's this fucking guy? Like, it's so spot on to things you hear in the locker room. I just love it.
It's and the superstitions
that
people do. Because I mean, even superstitions, and no matter what age group you're in, there's always, like, whether it be little league or high school, you have people that are superstitious about something or whatever, and they play on that.
Yeah. And with Harry Doyle, he's obviously, he wouldn't say it in real life, his commentary, but it's what you're thinking if your team was that shitty. Like, that's what you would want the play-by-play guy to say. Yeah. So it's kind of like a fantasy come true, which is which they do really well. And then all the commentary, the fans, like at the beginning of the movie and then during the games, it's like,
oh, these guys don't.
These guys are shitty. These guys aren't too fucking bad. Well, the best one is when I can't remember. I think it's the Yankees. They're getting crushed. This guy hits a homer, and the fans are like, "Oh, that's too high. That's too high. Oh, it's gone." He's like, and the guy's like, "What does it mean? What does that mean? It's too fucking high."
Well, it's just
high.
It's high.
What does it mean? It doesn't. It's fucking gone. Yeah, it's great.
One of the few Wesley Snipes comedic roles.
He's great.
Yeah, he's good in this. I like. Oh God,
the chemistry's great with all the actors, though.
Corbin Burnson.
Oh yeah,
my favorite. One of my favorite bits in that movie is that he's so adamant about not diving for grounders because he wants to protect his face. Yes. Afterwards, I'm gonna be on TV. I'm a good looking man. I'm gonna do what. I have a life after baseball. Yeah. And they're actually a part of a commercial, and he's the worst line deliverer in the entire fucking team. And he just can't. He's like so wooden and cannot be in front of a camera.
Yeah.
But I just like little things like that in that movie that just.
Yeah. Or when he brings the contract up to Lou and he's like, my contract says if I don't want to do any plays that like would physically disable me or whatever would hurt me, I don't need to do that. And then Lou takes it, crumples it up, puts it on there, and he unzips his pants and he like looks right at Roger Dorn as he's peeing on it. Looks back down. So good. But yeah, that's my number 5, Major League.
Nice. I like it. Yeah, it is a good movie. I like Bob Uecker is so good in that.
Oh, he is. He steals the show, man.
I like it when they get the real people that do that. And
yeah, I always thought that he wasn't real. I thought he was just an actor playing a bit in a movie. And then I only found out later, like, oh my God, he's an actual play-by-play guy for the Brewers. I had no idea. I just thought he was the character in the movie.
I thought it was Bob Barker's brother for the longest time.
Exactly. Exactly.
But my number 5 is Funny Farm.
Oh man, I haven't seen that in so long.
And it's not. I put it on there. It's one of those movies I watched a lot when I was a kid. Every once in a while I'll watch it, and it's not goofy, but I mean that was the Chevy Chase movie that I wanted to pick. That's probably my favorite Chevy Chase movie.
Okay.
He has some of his Chevy Chase shticks that he does, like of the Buster Keaton like physical comedy that he does.
Sure.
But his back and forth, you get him in his dark side because he like kind of goes into depression a little bit. Yeah. And I mean, so he has some range in there. But he does a good job playing that character of having this dream is like, oh, life is going to be so much better now. And then it all just kind of turns to shit. But Funny Farm came out in 1988. It's about a couple. The sports writer, he quits his job at whatever New York newspaper, and they buy a house out in the country. But their new hometown turns out to be just a little bit like everything just goes to shit. And it was up between this and Money Pit and The Great Outdoors. Okay. It's like all three of them because they're all fairly similar. To where you have characters that have just this idea idea of something that's going to happen and it doesn't.
Yeah.
But there's a it was directed by George Roy Hill, who also directed
Sting, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Did Sting, and he also did Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
That's right.
He's one of those guys that doesn't have a distinct style, but because of that, he's able to do a bunch of different kinds of movies.
Right.
So, and I enjoy it because he lets the actors do what they want to do to make it funny. The script is good. I mean, it's good writing.
Is this the one with the Rocky Mountain oyster scene?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't
Sheep
seen
balls.
it so long.
Clip them way up high.
I haven't seen it so long.
But yeah, I mean, there's the way the town people interact in such a small town. Like you kind of, there's some true to life things there, but for me, it's just one, it's entertaining, but I mean, it's not over the top slapsticky. It's just one of those half absurd, just everything can go wrong kind of a comedy.
Gotcha.
But there's an arc to it. There's character growth for both him and his wife.
Who plays his wife? He's like a well-known
Madeline Smith Osborne.
Huh.
She's been in a couple episodes of Cheers or whatever, but like this is the only thing I really remember seeing her in. But I mean, you have like just going through the list. I mean, there's not that many. Alice Drummond. She played the librarian in Ghostbusters.
Okay.
But there's not a lot of like huge name people in
not
this.
A lot of star power.
Yeah, it's Chevy Chase.
It's a Chevy Chase vehicle.
Yeah, Mike Starr. He was the guy in Dumb and Dumber, the guy with the rat poison.
Oh, okay.
He always plays the Italian guy.
He's the victim of the most annoying sound in the world.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, Funny Farm. I mean, it sounds like I'm shitting on, but it's nothing. It's just a good, solid comedy.
It's a familiar favorite for you.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's comfort food.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. Yeah. And but there's just moments in there that are just funny that you don't see. Like they get a dog. And they bring him home and like, oh, he can run out in the country, and they get a dog and they let him go. They're like, look at him run, and he just keeps running. And then that's like, it's just one of those things. Like they got the dog to make themselves feel better because they're having a shit time. They're like, you know what? Let's get a dog.
Yeah.
And they get the dog. It runs off in the distance, and they're like, I'll come back. I'll come back. And then it just. The sound is just them. The camera's just on them. They're just standing there.
Yeah.
And their face just slowly turns to like crap. And then as you hear the barks further away. But then like 45 minutes later, like I think it's like 3 seasons have passed. He's like chopping wood out by the lake. And all of a sudden you hear a dog barking. And you're like, hey, like the dog again, it just keeps running. This is the last you ever see of it. It's just stupid shit like that's in there. But it reminds me of The Great Outdoors and The Money Pit, because you have instances in there of wildlife attacking them, just things just going wrong with their house or with their expectations. But Funny Farm, probably one of my favorite Chevy Chase movies.
Well, that's high praise because Chevy Chase came out with a shit ton of movies in the 80s.
Yeah, it was Fletch too, and that was another.
Fletch is good. I haven't seen that in a long time, but it is good. But Spies Like Us, that's another underrated one that I like.
But yeah.
Okay, good pick.
What's your number 4?
The Money Pit.
Money Pit.
Number 4.
Yep.
It's one I grew up watching all the time. This was tough because Tom Hanks just went on a roll. I mean, he's come out with some of my favorite comedies in the 80s. It was between this. So I was debating between this, Big, and The Burbs.
All came out with consecutive years.
I know, and they're just so good. I like Turner and Hooch too.
Mm-hmm.
That came out in the 80s. I like Bachelor Party. That's good. But it was between Big and The Burbs and this. Like, which one am I going to pick?
Mm-hmm.
The Burbs is funny, but it's not really. I wouldn't classify it as a comedy. It's like a suspense,
suburban mystery,
weird mystery movie. Yeah. And then Big is funny, but it's like another coming of age movie. It gets kind of sad at the end, bittersweet, I would say. Again, great movie, but The Money Pit is just funny, like throughout.
Yeah,
just it has the funniest scene ever put on film, hands down to me.
What's that?
It's when the bathtub falls through the floor.
Oh yeah,
and Tom Hanks just loses it. It's so good. It'll never go. I will laugh. I YouTube it. Like if I'm having a bad day, I'll YouTube that clip just to make myself giggle because it's so good. So good. And then as I get older, the movie just gets better because I bought a couple houses. I know the process. I know I understand the angst and the anger that you get if something doesn't go right or something.
Dealing with contractors. 2 weeks.
Exactly.
2 weeks.
2 weeks. 2 weeks. And Shelley Long is underrated as an actress. She's like awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, she's a great comedic actress. I would say she's probably the queen of the 80s comedies. She was. I like Outrageous Fortune.
Outrageous Fortune is one of the. I watched that so many times when I was 5. I think I was 5. It was just on repeat.
Oh,
like her and Bette Midler in that movie.
Oh yeah,
so good.
Yeah, or True Beverly Hills. Obviously Cheers. She was great in that. I don't know. I just like. It's good. There's not really many quotable lines, but it's more of a situational comedy. And Tom Hanks and Shelley Long, for that matter, they're just outrageous situations that they're put in, and it's like, okay, act funny.
Christy and I rewatched this in my Rona seclusion, and what it brought up a reminder. I like this aspect in movies. I like it when it's not. I don't know if it's not a trope, but it's just something I enjoy when I see it in a movie, and it's instances where a character, more likely it's a side character that'll do this, but they come through for the main character.
Yeah.
So you don't think it will or they will. I'm trying to think of another example. Like this isn't one, but like Deliverance, when they reach the bottom of the at the end of the river and they see their equipment there. Like throughout that shit time, you would think, oh yeah, their stuff's not going to be there. It's going to be jacked.
Yeah.
Nope, they dropped it off. But more so of like, usually it's in kind of action movies or action-y movies where characters running, he's like doing all this stuff, and then he sees the kid he talked to like back at the beginning of the movie, like, oh, I always wanted this hat, and blah blah. He's like, oh, and like throws it at him, and then he just keeps doing this thing because he remembered. Like I like instances like that, but the Money Pit has that because there's an instance of like you feel like these people are just constantly giving this couple the runaround.
Yes.
And like, these are not good people. Oh my God, they're getting screwed so hard. Like the bad luck on these. No, it's just, it ends up working out in the end. I love it. I love situations like that. And I like it when characters come through like that, when you don't think they will. And then at the end, you're like, the guy's walking through. He's like, yeah, there's some times I didn't think we were going to make it, but, turned out really well.
Yeah, it turned out pretty good.
Yeah. And I just like instances like little things like that in movies. But yeah, Money Pit is definitely a good one.
Oh, I love it.
Christy has seen it more than me. I saw it a couple times when I was younger, so it's not one of those like evergreen mainstays that I always went back to. I've seen it more times since we've been together than before. But it is. Yeah,
I used to watch it all the time as a kid, and it's just gotten better. I love it.
I rewatching it, I just want to crank that. I've got to be me. Oh, wonderful me in my car and just drive away. I just want to like say something to like somebody like, fuck off. Hey, I've got to be me. Wonderful me.
Dust blowing in his face. He's like, did the Tom Hanks thing. Oh man, that's great. Good side note here. David Giler, the guy who wrote that, he wrote Alien 3. Weird, huh?
That is weird.
How did that happen?
Directed by Richard Benjamin.
Yes.
Which listeners, if you haven't seen Richard Benjamin in a little movie called Diary of a Mad Housewife, you should watch it.
Diarrhea?
Diary.
Oh.
Diary of A Mad Housewife.
I thought you said Diarrhea. That would have been an interesting movie.
Yeah, when I was younger, that's what I thought it was. Diarrhea of a Mad Housewife. But yeah, Richard Benjamin stars in that. He didn't direct. Richard Benjamin directed like a bunch of weird. Like he did a lot of weird. Like I think this was his only comedy that he directed.
Yeah,
but he's a very funny person as an actor. He was in Catch-22, the original. But Diary of a Mad Housewife. You can find it on YouTube. I think that's the only place you can watch it. But it's like the 70s weird. It's supposed to be a dark comedy. But the storyline of that is the wife has an affair or something, but there's scenes in there. He plays the main character's husband, and he's just like this pig of a person, like the worst fucking person you can think of. And he doesn't do anything. He's not like a monster or anything. He's just a dickhead. And to where he's sick, he has like ringing this little bell. And he's like, teen, can you get me some lemonade, crushed ice, not cubed? And like he just a shit person to live with. But yeah, it's a dark comedy. My father loves it. He quotes it all the time. That's the only reason why I brought it up. But that's who I think of when I see Richard Benjamin. I think of
that. You think of Diarrhea of a Mad
Diarrhea of a Mad Housewife.
Nice.
But yeah. But yeah, he wrote Alien 3.
David Giler.
David Giler.
Yes. Richard Benjamin did not.
I know.
Direct Alien 3.
Yeah, he did not.
He did not.
But
what's your number 4, Jay?
Number 4 for me. This is one, again, I watched on repeat when I was younger. This kind of goes against my own rule because it's kind of a fish out of water movie. But I consider a comedy just because it's situational comedy because he's fish out of water is Crocodile Dundee.
Oh, there we go.
And this was one of the first movies that I rewatched all the time when I was younger. Loved it. Didn't understand any of the jokes, but it was very entertaining to me. As I watched it, as I grew up, there would be instances like little things to where he's in the wilderness with Sue when she comes to visit in the beginning, and he's taking her around his trek where he got attacked by the alligator. He's shaving with a Bic razor. And he notices her coming. He like puts that away and takes out his big fucking knife and act like he's shaving with his knife just to butch up in front of her and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So there's tiny stuff like that to where I would immediately pause it. I'd run upstairs like, oh, did you know this happened in the movie? And it was that's why it was funny. Is because my parents just look at me like I was an idiot. Like, yeah, that's why it's funny. And that's why we laughed at that scene.
Yeah. But, who are we raising here? Yeah. This guy's really... This kid is quick.
What is this guy? An idiot? Jesus. How old is he? 27? When is he moving out?
Yeah. Get him out of here. He's walking to the mailbox once a day. This kid.
Yeah. But and but I don't know. Feels like two different movies. You had some comedy in Australia, then him going to New York and all that. I
haven't seen that in so long. A long time.
I was thinking about it, and I want to say I feel like that was one of the last dirty New York movies. And I thought about this when I watched When Harry Met Sally. New York is very clean in that movie.
Yeah,
it's very clean, and You've Got Mail. It's very clean in Nora Ephron movies, but
yes, it is.
Especially in the 90s, New York was presented very clean. It didn't have that grimy 70s look to it.
Sure.
To where
not the Taxi Driver look.
Yeah. And but Crocodile Dundee still had that grime in there. I felt whenever I watched that, because it still felt like that 70s era New York a little bit. At least in the night scenes. But
wasn't Paul Hogan nominated for an Oscar for writing?
Yeah, I think he probably was.
I think he was, if I remember right. I remember him being at the Oscars.
Oh yeah, presenter. I mean that definitely put him on the map. I mean, and I don't remember him. What was it, Lightning Jack or something? Was he in that? Like he was in a couple other movies, but I watched that. I watched Crocodile Dundee Part 2, which I love that. I saw the third one once and I wanted to kill myself.
Which one is that? The one in Los Angeles?
Yeah.
I never saw that.
It's not worth it.
You don't say. They made a sequel to Crocodile Dundee 2 20 years later. It's not out of this park home run.
Crocodile Dundee Part 2 is like it is pushing the line of believability because he was taking on, I think, Colombian drug lords.
Oh, was he?
As one does in the 80s.
Yes, everyone did.
But yeah, Crocodile Dundee. I enjoyed it. It's fun.
It's good. It's a good pick.
That was the last of the ones that I picked because I felt that nostalgia for it.
Bit you hard.
It was, I mean, it was that when I was that age, it was that movie, Flight of the Navigator, Cloak and Dagger, Goonies, Karate Kid, Back to the Future was my whole life.
Yeah, that was my life.
So out of all of those, Crocodile Dundee,
Paul
I think
Hogan
is
raised
legit
me.
Comedy. Yeah.
Paul Hogan was my second dad.
He was. Much older dad.
Much more handsome dad.
What's your number 3?
So this is a subgenre that I had a hard time picking. The Naked Gun, Airplane. This is Spinal Tap. The spoof movies where they make fun of subgenres. But my all-time favorite is Spaceballs.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's not even close. It's a movie I grew up on, and I love Mel Brooks. I think he's just he might be I don't want to say the best, but he's one of my favorite comedic writers for sure. He's just a great writer. Mm-hmm. I love The Producers. I love Young Frankenstein, History of the World Part 1. I mean, he's spot on. But as far as making fun of Star Wars, it's like perfect.
Yeah.
It's so good. I mean, Dark Helmet is, so funny. He just steals the show. I love Lone Star, Barf. I mean, it's so well thought out. It's the jokes just hit still to this day.
There's a different level with Mel Brooks movies, to where you have the surface level, but he'll make a commentary or he'll comment on something without smashing your face into it. To where if you're aware of something and you see it,
yes,
you get the joke.
Yeah.
If you're not too sure what he's talking about, it's still funny, but on a different level, kind of a thing.
Yeah, he's a master at sexual innuendo. Just
subtext and
my God. I mean, Mike Myers can't hold a candle to Mel Brooks's sexual subtext. It's and it gets you off right off the bat. Like the opening shot is of the thinking about it right now makes me laugh. It's just the shot of the ship. Dun-dun. And it's like 10 minutes. It just keeps going. It holds that note. I'm just sitting there cracking up. Nothing. It's just like, perfect. It's so perfect. Oh, I love it. And then, God, I mean, how many one-liners are there? Not enough to count.
Yeah, there's
Lone Star. I see you have your ring, and your Schwartz is as big as mine. Let's see how you can handle it.
Something you should know. I am your father's cousin's roommate. What's that make us? Absolutely nothing.
My favorite line, though, is, "So Lone Star, you see that evil will always triumph because good is dumb."
That's probably my favorite line from that movie.
That's so good.
Personally, my favorite is probably Young Frankenstein.
Yeah.
There's a lot of meta humor in Spaceballs, or like fourth wall breaking, I should say.
Yeah.
That I'm not particularly a fan of. But some of his shit that's just a thing that he does, like Blazing Saddles. They crush through the movie set and they go out. But Young Frankenstein would probably be my personal favorite from Mel Brooks.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, 79. But Spaceballs, that's one of those ones. I've seen it a couple of times. It was mainly in school because we would watch it. It would be like something the teacher would put on.
Yeah.
And I think that was the first time I watched it. It was probably in high school or middle school or something like that. But yeah, no, it's good. I think the quality of Spaceballs spoofing Star Wars is a lot higher, I think, than Scary Movie spoofing.
Oh, for sure.
Scream.
For sure.
It's not that the Wayans aren't funny, but I think it was just it's a different level.
Yeah.
When Mel Brooks did something.
Yeah. Well, and Spaceballs is PG. So he didn't get the cheap laughs by throwing dildos and throwing F-bombs out
constrained there. Yourself with lack of
he did it with subtext with his jokes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
it took a shit on Star Wars really well. Like A New Hope, there's a planet-sized weapon that blows up planets.
Mm-hmm.
It took a shit on that by having a giant maid with a vacuum cleaner that sucked out the air. I mean, come on. It could hypothetically happen in the same universe. The same statistics in the same universe. That was like a nice touch. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. Something as ridiculous. Yeah. It's great.
Yeah. Cool.
Spaceballs, man.
Spaceballs.
What's your number 3?
Number 3 for me is the only John Hughes movie I have on my list. And me personally, I think it's I don't know. I think it's his best movie. I think it's his funniest movie. Is Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
You bastard. That's my number 2.
That's your number 2? Well, good. We can talk
about it together.
So that's my number 3. I love straight man goofball comedies. So you got the uptight person, and then you got the comedic effect. And Steve Martin played that character so well. He's a very believable prick.
Yeah.
Or uptight person.
Uptight's a better word.
Yeah. And
I don't think he's a prick because
he's not.
He's a family guy.
That was unfair. Yeah. He was just more annoyed.
Yes.
And
everything was an inconvenience to him.
Yep.
Yes.
But it's funny, but it's also has a John Hughes. It's got emotional beats.
Yeah.
And writing wise, I mean, I'm sure with John Candy and Steve Martin, there were some ad libs in there, but the humor in there, a lot of it I feel like was written, and because John Hughes can write comedy.
Oh, for sure.
And I didn't, again, on my list, I didn't want to pick something that it was the actors bringing the comedy to the role, not the writer or the main purpose for the picture, the movie. But it's probably my favorite John Candy movie.
Yeah.
And because he plays a lovable both very well in that movie.
He's one of the most lovable guys ever.
Yeah. And
you can't hate him.
That
and Uncle Buck. I mean, those are probably my 2 favorite ones, but Uncle Buck is not as funny as Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Yeah. But Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. And I brought up the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. People from Chicago don't understand. If you rewatch Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, there are times they are 105 miles away from Chicago.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's still half the movie to go.
I know.
Granted, it was before cell phones. I would have found a payphone. I would have called my wife, packed the kids up in the car, come and pick me up.
Right. There you go.
I'm an hour and a half away. Like that's how far 100 miles is in the Midwest. It's like if you've lived in New York or a major city your entire life.
But then you wouldn't have a movie, Jay.
Oh, I know. I know. But some of the scenes and the signs and stuff, I watched that and I'm like, I was like, why are we still having a whole day left of the journey? I was like, just drive home.
But then you wouldn't have the burn up car scene. And...
and I get why they put it in there, but it just cracks me up. That's why I said that I don't think people from Chicago or larger cities know how long it takes to drive somewhere in the Midwest, because you can judge distance by time and vice versa, to where, it's 100 miles away. It's 100 minutes away.
Yep.
On average. But that was.
Blue moon of Kentucky. Oh, shining.
What do you have to say about Planes, Trains?
I just think it's, yeah, like you said, it's my favorite. It's like a buddy movie. It's like it's a road trip movie for sure, obviously. But
start of a friendship movie.
Yes, it's a good friendship movie. When it aims to be funny, it's funny every time. There's not a joke that doesn't hit in that movie, or it could be even subtle things like where they're stuck at the airport and Dell is like, "Oh, while you were in line, blah blah blah, I was on the phone with whatever, and I got a room or whatever." And Steve Martin's like thinking about it, and he's like, "I don't know." And he looks down, he sees a guy like curled, snuggling his coat, and he's like, "Yeah." Like those little things right there, so great. And then, but it's got the best rant in movie history by far.
I want a fucking Datsun,
exactly.
A fucking Toyota, it's 4 fucking wheels and a seat.
Like when you watch that movie, you're like, "Why is this rated R? I don't understand." And then it's just that one scene, but it earns it so well.
Oh yeah,
so well. It's so funny. And another thing you can just YouTube and just laugh at. He plays it so well. You can start by wiping that fucking dumbass smile with those rosy fucking cheeks. Because, like you said, the whole movie he's like reserved and he's doesn't really show that much emotion, except for the one scene where he's in the chatty cat. He's like, he gets mad at Dell or whatever.
For days, I can sit in seminars.
Yeah. It ends great. It's a heartwarming ending that I really like.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a timeless movie.
And I like how they both have arcs.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
And I mean, they're obvious arcs. He learns to loosen up a little bit and enjoy, like, kind of opens his eyes. Like he'll have, there's a couple of scenes in there when they're just sitting at a diner and they're just talking about their home life, and he just says small things like,
"I've been home in years."
Yeah, he's like, "I've been spending way too much time away from home."
Yep.
He's like, "I haven't been home in years." It's like, "Seriously?" And he's like, "No, I figure." But you can tell, I mean, he's telling the truth. But the realization of Steve Martin's character realizing that his life is run by work, and this whole situation is set up because he was working.
Yep.
I mean, he's not like, "Oh, I'm going to quit my job." It's not one of those things, but he realizes that he's missing things in his family because of that.
Right.
Which I think speaks to anybody who has a family and a job. I mean, at some point that balances off. But I wonder how much of John Hughes, I feel like John Hughes's own experiences were in that movie. Same thing with like Mr. Mom. Because John Hughes used to be an advertising executive. That's what he did before he started writing movies.
Yep.
And but which that's a good scene too.
Oh, that's a great scene.
At the very beginning, he's like, I gotta go. And the old guy's just kind of like looking at these fucking posters for forever and then never makes a decision. Yeah. He's like, we'll reconvene after the break. And it's a quick movie.
It's very quick.
My favorite John Hughes one. I mean, I think
it is.
It's
because I was debating on what do I put on here. I mean, it's either Ferris Bueller's Day Off or this, and I couldn't. I had to put. It's just, it hits everything. Yeah, it's so good. It might make my top 5 '80s movies. Yeah, it could.
And I could see that. I think the Ferris Bueller's is a little too goofy.
Yeah. A little too unrealistic at times. Yeah. Like, really, he's just gonna walk up in a parade and sing the Beatles. Yep. And they're all gonna
go to a baseball game and the museum and all these things. And
no, you're not. Calm down.
Again, people in Chicago don't know how long it takes to do something.
They sure don't.
Sorry, Chicago, we love you.
Yeah.
Without Chicago, there wouldn't have been a John Hughes. So
that's true.
So good.
All of his movies are set in Chicago.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I think everything about it's just a good song. I mean, it's hilarious, but the acting in it, they don't go too far with the comedy to where the emotional beats don't hit.
That's right.
And I like how they can reel that in.
2 great actors. My God. Yeah, they're really good.
That's probably Oh, it's
she had a baby. Come out sideways. She didn't scream or nothing. Oh, really? No, we got it. We got it. It's fine. Real trooper.
What's the thermometer say on that? 1.
I've never seen a guy get picked up by his testicles before.
You have any idea how awful I'd feel if I hit you? You have any idea how much better it would have been if you had? You know what I wish? An extra set of balls or an extra set of fingers, another couple balls.
Yeah. Well, what's your number 2?
My number 2. Wait, did you do your number 3?
Yeah, mine was Spaceballs.
Oh.
You said your number 3.
I wasn't paying attention.
Well,
my number 3, was Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, but that's your number 2.
That was my number 2.
Awesome. Yes. My number 2.
Yeah.
Probably, I think.
Diarrhea of a mad housewife.
That came out in the 70s, I think. Okay. But this one is, again, if I had to pick a Rob Reiner movie, this is the one I picked, and it's Princess Bride.
Oh.
I picked this. First, William Goldman wrote it, who also wrote Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid, one of my favorite movies. William Goldman's probably my favorite screenwriter.
Okay.
But this movie, I was torn on putting this in here because this I consider it's a fantasy family film.
Yeah.
And it's got some action in it. It's a revenge. I mean, it's a fairy tale.
Yeah.
It's not something that people typically think of as a comedy. It's also a movie that I think of as just a good movie.
It's a good movie.
There's some people that don't, I guess there's some people that don't like Princess Bride.
Huh.
Like, and I, part of it is probably nostalgia. Like we saw this when we were kids. Some people haven't, like if they see it now out of the blue, they probably think that maybe it's dated or something, but it's similar to Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, where it has some emotional elements. It's more goofy than Planes, Trains, but the story structure is great. The characters are good. All the characters are not cardboard cutouts.
No.
And I don't know. I'm torn on it being but I think it's hilarious. And that's why I put it in there, because I feel like a lot of the humor was from the writing. It was purposely put in there. It was purposely made to be funny. It doesn't get to the point to where you cry at all.
No,
you don't feel judging by the base definition of a comedy is a movie with a happy ending.
It has one of those.
It doesn't make you feel, it makes you feel like a little suspense or something, like it does uncertain for some of the characters, but it's very lighthearted. It's a family movie. I think overall, I think it's just a good movie. I do find it hilarious. That's why I put it on there, because it's one of the funnier movies I've seen. There's just so many. It's just one of those you could watch, and the interaction, the dialogue. There's a lot of quotable lines in there.
Oh yeah. Anybody want a peanut?
No more rhymes. I mean it. Anybody want a peanut?
I always think of Jason Segel.
Always. But I love it. I think the writing in it is great. The characters are, they all play it straight, but they're all in on the joke.
Oh yeah.
And that's very rare. Usually you can get a couple of them that know what kind of movie they're in. I feel like everyone in this movie knew exactly what they were making, and they had a very clear direction as far as the kind of movie they wanted it to be.
Yeah.
And I think the Fred Savage portion of it is obviously it's a lesser part of the movie, but I think that was necessary, because I remember the first time I watched it, he was actually the hook. As soon as I saw him, because I watched Wonder Years or The Wizard and stuff like that. The first time I saw him, I was like, oh, Fred Savage is in this, and he's barely in it, but it's the introduction to the movie, because when I watched it, I had the same feeling. I was like, the title sucks. It sounds like a girly movie.
Yeah.
And it's a fairy tale romance. And
I thought the same thing. But once you,
like, he's your guide into the movie. But once you get into it, they push they have Fred Savage chime in every once in a while, but then more or less they push him off to the side. But once you're in the movie, they let you go with the movie. But
yeah, and you like all the characters that you're supposed to like. Like Cary Elwes. What's his?
Cary Elwes.
Oh crap! I can't believe I can't even remember his name. It's not Stable Boy. Wesley. Thank you. Jeez. No, he plays that great.
Yeah,
he's really good in it.
Mandy Patinkin.
He's great.
I have something to tell you as well.
What's that?
I'm not left-handed either.
Yes. Yeah.
My name is Inigo Montoya.
How many fingers are in your right hand?
That's my favorite funny scene is when Wesley is laying on the bed.
Yes.
And he's playing his bluff. And he goes into that diatribe. He's like, no, to the pain. What? To the pain. And then he was like, first I'm going to cut off your nose. And then, and my ears. Like, no, your ears I keep. So every screeching babe, every crying mother that walks by and looks down and says, oh my God, what is that thing?
Yeah.
And that the writing of that is definitely William Goldman. And
for sure.
But the another scene that I like is my favorite scene is Inigo Montoya dueling the Six-Fingered Man.
Yeah. Well, he's Christopher Guest, by the way.
Yeah, Christopher Guest. And the whole scene where he just keeps saying, my name is N-T.
Yeah.
He keeps repeating that line, which is good on Patinkin because it shows how he's just repeating the same line over and over, but every time he says it, it's just a little bit more determination, a little bit more. He's like, it goes from, oh, that's his catchphrase to, no, he's just letting him know he's going to kill him.
Yeah.
And then it gets to that point. He's like, offer me money, offer me anything I want in the world. He's like, anything, whatever you want. He's like, I want my father back, you son of a bitch. Love it. Just,
great writing.
Great. And so good.
Yeah.
Love that.
Well, like to your point, that's a testament. I think the comedy in that movie is a testament to the writing because there's not a lot of character actors. Like, Andre the Giant isn't an actor. Mandy Patinkin wasn't really a comedic actor, more of a Broadway play kind of guy. Cary Elwes at that point, not really. And Robin Wright Penn, not really.
I think it was like one of her first movies.
It might have been. The only comedic actor I think was Wallace Shaw. That was it.
Wallace Shaw, yeah.
Christopher Guest was in a.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess he was.
Christopher Guest. I mean, you had some comedic people in there, which I think.
Chris Sheridan wasn't really a
Mel
comedic
Smith.
actor.
You had cameos with
Billy Crystal,
and Carol Kane, and so. But I think having those character actors in there grounded it and gave it more. I think it made it a better movie because I think if they would have made this today, it would have it when they'd just pick all it would be Kristen Wiig and fucking Melissa McCarthy,
and Kate
McKinnon, and it would just be over the top.
The cast of Ghostbusters.
Yeah, the cast of Ghostbusters. I'm trying to think of like over the top, like they'd probably bring back Mike Myers for something.
He'd be the Billy Crystal role.
Yeah,
because he could put on some makeup and prosthetics.
Yeah, but I think them picking character actors and being surrounded by comedic actors, I think that made the movie that much better because it took it a little bit more seriously. But I mean, as you said, the comedy is in the writing.
Oh yeah,
and
it is.
If it's in the writing, then you have decent actors; they should be able to deliver it.
Yeah. Marriage brings us together today. It's a good pick.
Yeah.
But to be honest with you, I don't think I would have considered it a comedy. But,
and that's where I was having
still funny.
Because Princess Bride is definitely one of my. I think it's probably one of the better movies that came out of the 80s.
Oh God, yeah. For sure.
And I had that trouble too, to where I was like, when I think of comedy, I don't think of Princess Bride, but when I saw the list,
it's one of the
comedy films released. I was like, God, it is kind of I mean, it's a comedy, but it's mixed in with a bunch of different genres. I think it's one of the best written movies in the 80s, and I think it was written as a comedy.
It's one of the best fantasy movies I think like ever made. It's great.
Yeah.
It's, tight, it's fast.
Mm-hmm.
It's good.
Yeah.
Nice pick, Jay.
What's your number one?
Oh, man. Numero uno. So this movie, I would watch as a kid, and I thought it was, funny, but it just keeps getting better and better every time I see it. It's so good. I just watched it before I came over here, Jay. And I was like, yep, this is it. I still laugh out loud over the little situations and the performances. It's a combination of good script writing and just the actors being funny in all aspects of it. And that is Three Amigos. Hands down.
I'm not sure how much I'm going to be able to contribute this because I have never seen the Three
Oh
Amigos.
My God. Jay, it's so good. Directed by John Landis. Like I said, I love John Landis. He's a great director. But this is my favorite movie that he's done, comedy-wise. Stars Steve Martin as Lucky Day, Martin Short as Ned Nederland, and Chevy Chase as Dusty Bottoms. The names alone are great. And it's about 3 silent film actors that get fired by the studio because they're not making enough money anymore. They get a letter from a small Mexican town from a lady and her son who's saying this guy, this criminal El Guapo is terrorizing our town and we need someone to come save us. And they go into a silent movie in Mexico. They watch a Three Amigos movie and they think that they're real.
Okay.
So there's a great scene where they're going to Western Union and they're like, Three Amigos, please come and save us from El Guapo, the villainous monster murderer. We will pay you 100,000 pesos, blah, 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 blah. And the guy's like, counting the words, he's like, that'd be 23 pesos. He's like, we only have 10. I will give you the 10 peso version. So then he starts editing the letter. Basically, when it gets to them, it's like, put on a show, come to Mexico, 100,000 pesos, thank you. So when they go, they have no idea that they're there. And they think that they're just there to put on a show, like a Three Amigos show. So it's just a fish out of water story, simple. They slowly realize that this isn't a show. This is a real guy who will kill them. And then, it's just them coming around. They're successful. They have the guys that come initially and they're kind of just like, who the fuck are these 3 guys? They're just weird. And they run off. They tell El Guapo, they come back. El Guapo runs them out. And then, they eventually save the town. So they become the Three Amigos. Eventually it's typical story writing, sure. But man,
the way you just described it, reminded me of another movie.
What's that?
Galaxy Quest.
It's exactly the same.
Yeah,
it's exactly the same. The same premise.
Good movie. See, and
sure.
I feel bad for not have seen the Three Amigos before because I love Martin Short. Oh, and I know that's probably his most noteworthy.
So good in it.
Other than Look at Me Like a Normal Human. What was it? God, not Fred Willard, Clifford.
Clifford, yeah.
Was but yeah, I haven't seen.
I can't believe it. We got to watch it. You'd love it. Just the little subtleties in the scenes and like, oh my God, I can't. There's the little lines of dialogue are just hilarious because they're 3 idiots, and they're not trying to be overtly like mean or rude or anything. They're just dumb.
Yeah.
And they play it so great. Like there's a scene where they get to Mexico right off the bat, and they go to a bar to find directions to the small town they're supposed to go to. And Steve Martin, it's full of Mexican like scoundrels at this bar. It's a seedy bar. And Steve Martin goes, "Excuse me, we aren't Mexicans. We're from out of town." He says it so straight-laced. It's so good. And then when they make it, they do this number where anyway, I don't want to. They think that they're supposed to be angry Germans, and they tell the bartender, "Hey, when our friends get here, they're killers. Let them know that we're hold out over here. Tell them to come meet us. So when the three amigos come in, they think that they're the people that guy said were seedy. So they like treat them with respect. They don't want to anger them because they think they're going to kill them. So they did this little like musical routine. Chevy Chase is playing the piano, and Martin Short and Steve Martin are like, "Here, little buttercup." It's so good. And so they make it to the town. Another great piece of dialogue is that they feed them tacos, and Chevy Chase is doing Chevy Chase where he's trying to roll up the taco meat in with the taco, and he's trying to eat it and just keeps falling out. He's like, and he goes, "Do you have anything besides Mexican food?" Oh God. It's got a great line where God, Chevy Chase is so good in it. So John Landis does a good job at like he does still shots with like a bunch of people surrounding like the comedic actor. So this is after they've defeated the villains that come to take over the town. So they're celebrating, right? So Chevy Chase is vaguely strumming a guitar, acting like he can play it. He's being Chevy Chase. He's like, and then he's trying to like do like a Mexican like lullaby. He goes, all the Mexican people around him are like, he just plays it so well. Anyway, so he gets in typical Chevy Chase fashion, he gets like a love interest in this movie.
Yeah.
And have you ever kissed a girl? He's like, oh yeah, I've kissed a girl. Would you want to kiss me? He goes, sure. And there's a long pause. You can kiss me now. We could take a walk on the veranda. You can kiss me on the veranda. And he goes, no, the lips would be fine. Anyway, so Jay, it's scene after scene. It's just so funny. It's great. There was a rumor. So this movie was written by Steve Martin, Lorne Michaels, and Randy Newman. Boy, I love in L.A. Or you got a friend in me. That guy. The only screenplay he ever co-wrote.
He must have had like a joke or something thrown in there. And
well, he plays a burning or a singing bush in the movie. It's so. Dude, I'm telling you, every scene in this movie is golden. It gets better it's so, like a fine wine.
I'll watch it before we record next time.
It is so good, man. It's so funny. It's so because they play dumb idiots to a T, and it's perfect. It's so good. And they have an arc at the end where they realize that they did take themselves too seriously, and they come to realize that we found something within ourselves that we didn't know was there previously. We're brave. We have morals. Let's stand by them, kind of thing. But there was a rumor where John Landis wasn't going to direct this. It was going to be Steven Spielberg, and Steve Martin was going to be Lucky Day still, because he wrote it, obviously. And then Dusty Bottoms was going to be Bill Murray, and Ned Nederland was going to be Robin Williams. And I think if they made that movie, it wouldn't be as funny, because all three of those guys would have tried to have been the star of the show, sucked up all the oxygen. But Chevy Chase, Martin Short, and Steve Martin working together, they don't do that. They play off each other very well. No one really steals the show. It's just a Three Amigos movie. It's not a Bill Murray movie. It's not a Robin Williams movie. It just makes it that much more funnier. It's good.
I would agree with that. Of course, I don't know. I've never made a movie with Chevy Chase. I heard he's similar, kind of a person, like he can be the asshole. Like Martin Short is so good at playing low key ways. Like he's a good.
He is.
Part of an ensemble. You said Bill Murray and Robin Williams.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know when Robin Williams got off drugs. I don't know if he was still balls deep in the 80s in him, but
this was made in 1986.
I mean, he never really struck me as someone who had an over ego. But yeah, if I don't see, Bill Murray's just
I guess I mean in the sense of the studio would have butted in and been like, oh, we need more Robin Williams scenes, or we need more Bill Murray scenes. And here that it's all even.
Yeah.
That's good. It's very level-headed. I like it.
Yeah, I'll have to watch it. I feel bad because I don't have anything to.
There's so many good lines, man. There's God, they're so dumb in it. It's so great. And it's funny, it didn't have strong critic reviews when it came out. I think it has like a 42% Rotten Tomatoes score.
I don't think any of these movies that we talked about had strong critical reviews when they came out.
Really?
Yeah, because I don't. I mean, they're all like sixes on IMDb. Like none of them are like, and I think, of course, comedies are hard for critics to. I mean, there's nothing short of becoming a box office hit. I mean, I don't know if any. I'm trying to think of like good critically reviewed comedies,
like Beverly Hills Cop.
Yeah,
it was a critical success for sure.
I mean, maybe The Hangover or something.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I still remember reading reviews like, oh, it's just a typical boys behaving badly, and it's like old school and blah blah and shit like that. But yeah, I mean, I think a lot of the like I know Funny Farm wasn't. I mean, it was a minor hit when that came out, but I don't know, maybe Planes, Trains, and Automobiles was.
I think that was a critical success. But you're right. Yeah, comedies normally aren't. Yeah. They're not going to be like The Godfather or a drama that has like 95% on Rotten Tomatoes or anything like that.
Which I think is a shame because I think it doesn't get the love. I mean, comedies are really never nominated for an Oscar. If it is, it's some other, like Annie Hall, I think won Best Picture. I think 77. It was the same year Star Wars came out. But I think that was kind of but it was more of a introspective, like
it's like a drama.
More of a drama. And but yeah, comedies tend not get, I think, the respect they deserve because I think they're a lot harder. Good comedies are hard.
Yeah.
You can pump out the stupid like Not Another Teen Movie or superhero movie or scary movie. Like you just churn that shit out and it won't mean anything. Hence why they don't make them anymore. But good comedies, I think, are more difficult. I just wish it did get more critical love in that aspect. But I think because it's so subjective, for it has to hit somebody's funny bone or something. Maybe that's why.
Yeah.
To where.
Well, the opening scene in Three Amigos is actually pretty technically well done because they're silent film stars, and they show like 5 minutes of their silent film. It's like
are they like Buster Keaton style actors?
Yes,
that's cool.
Yeah, it's really well done, and then they do old Hollywood very well. They go into the executive's office, and he's laying down like, we gotta let you go. And it's the most absurdly large office that they have there, and he's such a prick. It's got actually Phil Hartman and John Lovitz in there. They play his assistants. Nice. They do a pretty good. Lauren Michaels makes sense. The SNL guys are on there, but it's just underrated, man. It's so funny.
I'll check it out.
It is so funny. It's yeah, like I said, it just keeps getting better. It's so funny, like the little subtleties in the line deliveries, and
I'll watch it.
You come into it thinking that, and they took risks too. Like there's a couple musical numbers in there that you're just like, they come out of nowhere, and you're like, what the hell are they doing? And then it keeps going. You're just like, oh my god, they're being silly. This is good. Yeah, it's good. You'll love it.
I'll check it out.
It's fantastic.
I'll watch it before we record next.
Yeah, you'll like it. It's worth it.
Give my 2 cents.
Anyone out there who hasn't seen Three Amigos, it's fantastic. Underrated. My favorite. I would say it's my favorite comedy of the 80s. Hands down.
Mine is came out in 1980. So
okay, there you go. Barely. Yeah. I already know what it is.
Yeah, it's Airplane.
There you go.
And I am not. I don't like flying. I think it's a control thing.
Sure.
If there is a long stretch between times, like, I mean, if I, it used to be to where I hadn't been on a plane in like a couple of years. And then my mind starts getting the best of me, blah, blah, all this other bullshit. But I'll watch Airplane to calm me down. Like before it's either watching Alive or watching Airplane before I hop on a plane to go somewhere. But usually Airplane wins out. But some of the jokes are dated. You have, it's very Scary Movie-esque. If you guys haven't seen it, everyone's seen Airplane. But so it's similar to Scary Movie. It's a spoof off of like 0 Hour and Airport, some of the disaster movies from the 50s. And but yeah, you have some slightly dated jokes, but I like the Hare Krishnas, and then they reference like Saturday Night Fever and From Here to Eternity, and some commercials. Like there's a coffee commercial, they like Urban Coffee or some kind of coffee brand that they make fun of their commercial, and that's in the movie.
Right.
So that joke doesn't really hit, but I picked it because of what it, one, I think it's hilarious. I could watch it. I can laugh every time I watch it. It is absurd but I like it because it's so absurd, but everybody is playing it straight. And that's my favorite thing about that, because before before this movie came out, you had Peter Graves, who plays Captain Over. You had Leslie Nielsen, who plays the Doctor. You have Lloyd Bridges, who plays the tower control guy. All these people, they had never been in a comedy before. And that was the joke. So is that all these people are playing this absurd situation completely straight, but that was part of the humor.
Right.
And I wish I could have seen it in theaters at age like 25 when it came out, or or 30 or something. Because I would have been in, like, I feel like it would have hit that much harder.
Oh yeah, it would have.
Because you hadn't seen these people in that light. Even though Leslie Nielsen, I've always known him as a comedic actor.
Me too.
And
like when you think Leslie Nielsen, you think The Naked Gun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that came after this movie. I mean, this kind of sparked a new
slapstick wave. Yeah.
Slapstick wave for his career. And Robert Stack was another one that had never been in a comedy before. Robert Stack's the Unsolved Mysteries guy.
Gotcha. That's right.
And but
was this the first like spoof movie, like slapstick spoof movie? I can't think of anything before. Because right after this is Spinal Tap. That was like the other one. I think it came out in 81.
Yeah, and because this was written and directed by Abraham Zucker and Zucker. So they went on to do The Naked Gun. They went on to do Top Secret. There's a lot of movies they did in the 80s. It was more absurd stuff.
Yeah. Didn't Jerry Zucker do Ghost? I think he directed Ghost.
Maybe he did.
Which I remember watching that, thinking like, he directed
Ghost.
Yeah. Another great movie. I think it was 1990, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But with the Airplane, it's absurd, but then you have a bunch of background stuff that's happening that they don't draw attention to. But you're gonna notice it, like the rear projection of them driving a car.
Sure.
And they're just driving normally, and all of a sudden the background just starts going nuts, makes it look like they're going 1,000,000 miles an hour. But it's goofy. I keep saying this, it's absurd, but it's so good. I love it because everyone delivers their lines so deadpan, so serious. You have the weirdest shit happening all around everybody, but everyone is
playing it straight.
And I just love, that's just my personal thing. I love comedies like that. I love it.
Yep.
It's just stupid. someone's sitting in an airplane chair, like, oh, are you a doctor? Yes, I am. And he already has the stethoscope in his ears, and he gets up and looks, and he's doing this stupid sleight of hand trick by pulling eggs out of the mouth of somebody. Like, oh, well, keep at it. I'll be back. The fuck are the eggs coming out of it? Like, it's just random shit that is just.
I've only seen Airplane one time.
It's so dumb. It's so dumb. And it's that's I don't know. That's part of the reason why I wish I could have seen it in the 80s, knowing who this people, because none of these people have been in comedies before. I mean, I don't know who to pick to compare it to, that you hadn't seen ever be in a comedy. Being a comedy, it would be.
Trying to think.
I mean, it's like Robert De Niro and Meet the Parents, or like Analyze This, to where,
or Midnight Run or something.
Yeah, you hadn't really seen him in a comedy before, and that was part of the humor, is that he's known for being this very intimidating person.
Yep.
And then they play off of that, but the fact that they did that with the
entire cast,
it's
a ballsy move.
Yeah, see,
it worked.
It paid off for him, Cotton.
Oh yeah.
Dang. But you've only seen it one time?
I've only seen it one time. Yep.
And it's not something I watched a lot when I was a kid.
I think the reason why I've only seen it once is because it's spoofing disaster movies from the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't really grow up watching disaster movies from the 70s, so I didn't really feel a need to go out and see it right away. But I remember liking it, watching it. I mean, it is good.
And that's where it feels dated in some parts, and it is spoofing those movies. But I'd never seen those movies.
Yeah.
I don't know what they were spoofing, but it's still, at least for me, it was entertaining.
Sure.
I eventually saw Saturday Night Fever. That was an obvious reference that they did with the disco scene. But From Here to Eternity, I never saw, but I know what they're referencing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's part of the reason why, even though they're spoofing those, I still found it enjoyable. I still picked up on, okay, they're spoofing something, but I just figured it was just a disaster film.
Gotcha.
In general. But I felt like it still worked. And when I think of comedy, that's probably the first movie that pops into my head.
That's what you go to?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
that's fair.
It's over the top. It's ridiculous. It's so stupid. It's so fucking stupid.
It's good. But comedies are supposed to be that way sometimes.
Yeah.
I feel like Three Amigos got a 1, like Roger Ebert gave it a 1.5 star out of 4. And it makes me angry. I'm like, why?
Well, he directed, was it Bonfire? What the fuck did he direct? He directed some dog shit movie. That was the last time he did that.
Yeah.
But,
and then Valley of the Dolls or something.
Yeah, something.
Or he wrote it. I don't think he directed it. I don't
something
know.
Stupid, but
I don't know. But critics kind of give comedies they take it too seriously, and you're not supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
Like Three Amigos, you're not supposed to take it seriously.
Yeah.
You're like, is it funny? The structure of the story is these 3 guys think they're in one situation and they're not.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it is, and it's 3 comedic actors being funny.
Yeah, and yeah, maybe you can't critique comedy. Yeah, because if you don't find it funny, obviously you're gonna call it a shit film. And I'm sure there's people that watch Airplane and they're like, this is stupid. This isn't funny at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's like that for, anything, I guess. But yeah, it's hard to argue. Oh, this is funny. I didn't find it funny. Well, no, it's funny.
Exactly.
Kind of a thing. So
yeah.
I guess maybe it's hard to, because you can structurally create something to where it's supposed to be fun. You can follow like the rule of 3s in comedy. You can do some tropes and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I guess it'd be tough to make an objectively funny movie that everyone would say, oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Because someone would be butthurt over something.
Yeah. And, again, it's kind of like, Three Amigos. Like I'm looking at all I'm noticing that my list here. What was my? Oh, Major League, I guess, has a couple F-bombs in there. And Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is fairly PG until the F-bomb rant. But like Spaceballs, Money Pit, Three Amigos, they're all like PG. There's not overt cursing like in every line of dialogue. Like there's some thought.
Yeah.
And they really try to land with the jokes, not just for it being overtly crass or
that's
sexualized at all. It's good writing. It's good performances.
We're not like picking Ski School or something like that.
Bachelor Party or
it's just like over like Porky. I mean, I never saw
Porky's
Porky's,
or Meatballs or something.
Something that where it's like, oh, titties and F-bombs, dick and fart jokes. I think that comedy is better when you're constrained to certain limitations, to where if you can't go for the easy F-bombs and everything else just to get a reaction out of people. That's one thing I don't like about Family Guy when they did their movies, because I remember is when they were canceled. I think it was when I was still in college. They had a Family Guy movie come out, and Lois like comes out of the limo on the red carpet and she says fuck, and I remember sitting watching it with a group of friends, and people started laughing because the cartoon character said fuck, and I'm like, I want to shoot myself. Like that, this is not funny. Like, so
good on you.
It's cheap laughs. It's not.
Three Amigos. There's this scene where they're three of them are riding in the desert, and it's actually in it's the scene they watch in the movie that we just
Windfall,
where Lucky Dag gets one drop of water. Ned gets sand, and then Chevy Chase just is guzzling the water, and just it cuts to Steve Martin and Martin Short just looking at him, just like he washes it in his mouth, spits it out a little bit, and he just throws it, and then to top it off, like so he spits out the water, he quenches his thirst, he throws it down. They cut to Steve Martin and Martin Short, and they're just looking at him, and Chevy Chase was like looking at him like, and then they cut back to the canteen. It's still full of water, and it's pouring onto the ground.
People in drought situations do not find that funny.
Yeah, I know, but it's a nice little touch, man. It's so good. That movie's full of little touches like that. It's good.
I'll have to watch it.
Yeah, I'm surprised you haven't seen it. Week. My goodness,
just never got around.
You were deprived as a child. I know. There's so much shit to watch. So I don't blame you.
This is back in the VHS days, so if I didn't have access to it,
you weren't watching it.
No.
What? You didn't have Disney Plus or HBO Plus. Max or Paramount Plus or Hulu or YouTube TV?
It's what
Fubu.
The kids are doing Tubi. Now. We've been watching Toy Story for 3 weeks. I think one of the days when I had the Rona, I watched Toy Story 4 twice.
Oh.
Then Toy Story 1, Toy Story 2, then Toy Story 3 all in one day.
Goodness.
Yeah. And I still have not seen Toy Story 4 all the way through.
You haven't?
I zone
I get
off.
it. You're like, I get it.
They should have ended that trilogy at the trilogy.
Yep.
I think Toy Story.
I got you. Well, they had to make their money, Jay.
Disney needs to get paid.
They sure do.
So did Tom Hanks. That's something I wanted to bring up with Tom Hanks with Money Pit. I'm trying to think of somebody who's had a better career than him in the history of film.
In terms of like just being in different genres,
he's shown the widest range. He's worked the longest. I mean, Kurt Russell's worked since he was a child.
It's true.
But Kurt Russell isn't. Everyone knows who Kurt Russell is, but
he's been in some good comedies.
He's not Tom Hanks status.
No. No.
And but there's like, you have people like Tom Cruise that has worked just as long. But Tom Cruise hasn't. He's always in the same shit. He's always the leading guy.
He couldn't lead a comedy.
Yeah, he was funny in Tropic Thunder. And he's had some comedic stuff that he's done, but he's more or less kind of what you see is it's Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise.
You know what you're gonna get.
Yeah.
But Tom Hanks, like, you had the 80s, like the last 5 years of the 80s was just bam, 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 bam.
Yep.
Comedy. And then you could see him starting to get more range in his characters in the early 90s with League of Their Own. Still funny, but starting to show a little bit of a range. Then you get into the Forrest Gump, the Philadelphias, when it really starts hitting it hard. No pun intended. And then Apollo 13.
Yeah.
And then now we're at Geppetto with Pinocchio.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he's going to be one of those guys that just keeps working.
Like Clint Eastwood.
Yeah, which is fine. But I'm trying to think of somebody else. Maybe
Robin Williams. As far as just the range of acting, he's very.
Yeah, but range of acting and then star power, consistent star power. Because Robin Williams, he kind of like dipped in the 2000s.
Yep. No,
he did some independent stuff or whatever, but he wasn't huge like he was.
No.
Where Tom Hanks, I don't think he's ever he's just consistently been Tom Hanks is in something. So
let's go.
But yeah, I don't know.
I mean, Leonardo DiCaprio is another good one. I mean, but like,
yeah, and I guess he started younger than
he did, but he hasn't been in any comedic roles. Really.
Yeah, he's not.
No,
I feel like the
Tom
first
Hanks was. Well, Tom Hanks started in a sitcom, Bosom Buddies. That's a good question. I don't think so. I think he's one of a kind right now.
Yeah. I mean, I think Is
he the greatest actor of our generation?
He's not our generation.
Yeah, I guess of any generation.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone else has had a better career than what he had. He's directed stuff. But how many things did he direct?
He did That Thing You Do.
Yep.
Which is a pretty good movie. And he did Larry Crown, which is awful.
Okay, I never saw Larry Crown.
Oh God, it gagged me.
If he just directed one movie, That Thing You Do, he directs one movie and it's fucking That Thing You Do. Yeah. It's pretty good.
It is pretty good. Good. Larry Crown's awful though. It's very milquetoast and it's not inspired at all. It's just boring.
Yeah.
It's the worst thing a movie can be is boring. That thing is boring. Yeah.
Is that the one with Julia Roberts?
Yeah. It's not funny at all. It's just boring.
Yeah. Just bland.
Rami Malek is in it. It's one of his first movies. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. You're right. I think Tom Hanks is unparalleled.
Yeah, it definitely has. I wish he would go back to comedy.
He should do one last one.
He's done animated stuff.
I know. I don't know.
But yeah, I wish he would. I don't know if it'd just be too weird seeing an old Tom Hanks laugh around and doing his 80s stick again.
I don't know. I don't know. Did you see Greyhound?
I didn't know.
Oh, it's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's on Apple, isn't it?
It is on Apple.
Yeah, that's why I haven't seen it.
Well, we bought our iPhones and we got 3 free months of Apple TV Plus, and that was on there. It's very good.
I have a Android because I'm not a sheep.
I know. Well, good for you.
Whatever. Steve Jobs.
What are you, one of the
eat it
2% of people that doesn't have an iPhone?
I'm
good for you.
I'm the only one. I'm the last one. Samsung makes phones just for me now.
Exactly. We have one client. His name's Jason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But well, top 80s movies.
Comedy.
What
are we going to talk about next time, Jay?
I don't know. I got to bring it up.
I forgot already.
I forgot. I don't know what I'm doing. Next week we will be talking about Top Gun: Maverick, which saw that recently. The first one. Yeah. Everyone's so sweaty in that fucking movie.
You mentioned this.
Tony's
beads of sweat.
Yeah, beads of. It's not even like a glisten. It's just you just see the pellets of sweat that haven't accumulated to create raindrops yet. But yeah, we're going to be talking about Top Gun Maverick next week.
You know what else is great about Top Gun?
What's that?
Is that you have to know that Maverick is a rebel in that movie.
Yes.
Every scene.
Yep.
You're uncontrollable, Maverick.
It's like you're flying with a ghost up there.
You're such a loose cannon, Mav. you get reminded of that like every 10 minutes in the movie.
Because we showed it. I showed it to Christy she watched it for the first time last week. And I warned her, I was like, there's going to be some cheese in this. It's 80s.
Oh, yeah.
She's like, oh, yeah. We're watching it. And she's like, yeah, everyone's so sweaty in this. And then we get to the volleyball scene. And she's like, really? And I was like, babe, watch it because this is for you. They put this in there specifically for you.
That's right.
And the blue sex scene. And
yeah.
Which... I'm not a fan of sex scenes in movies anyways. It comes off as awkward. That one was fine. That's probably one of my favorite ones just because you get it. Like, yeah, it's sensual, blah, blah, blah. But you don't see the gratuitous nudity or like the dude's ass cheeks flapping as they're like banging against the wall or some bullshit. And
you have that sweet soundtrack. Take My Breath Away. It's a classic song.
It's baby making music right
there. It is. It really is.
Playing
with the boys.
Poor Anthony Edwards had to keep his shirt on because he's the only non-tone person.
Exactly.
Yeah, fucking oh god, who is it? The Rio for Iceman. I forget his name. But he's just always fucking flexing and shit in the goddamn sand.
Well, by today's standards, they're not really that ripped. Like, have you seen Baywatch with Zac Efron and The Rock?
Yeah.
It's like
well, steroids is now more common.
Exactly, that's true. Watching Top Gun, the beach scene, it's like, these guys aren't that big.
Yeah.
Seem bigger.
It's just normal dudes now.
Robert Pattinson, the Batman. More tone in these guys, these fools.
Yeah, but we'll touch on more Top Gun when we watch Top Gun Maverick because there's some things people shit on Michael Bay, but they need to start earlier if they want to because there was another.
There's another.
But yeah, we'll talk about Top Gun next week. Top Gun Maverick, the new one. So we would have talked about it this week, but Rona, and that bitch. But
it's an evil bitch.
But yeah, what did you think of our list? Our top fives? Was mine better than Matt's?
Well, of course mine was.
Well, that's debatable. But let us know in the comments,
please.
At acastwithnoname.com. Also, or send us an email if you don't want to have your shit up on the episode page or whatever. Yeah, just shoot us an email. If you have any questions, ask us, like how we sleep at night or I don't know, whatever the fuck. I don't know.
Whatever you want to do. Show us your top 5 comedies.
Half of you people that are listening to this know us personally, so you probably don't want to talk to us regardless, but
that's fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's all right.
We see you next weekend.
Yeah, we will.
We see you like every other fucking day.
Yeah.
So awesome. Anything else to add?
No, Jay.
Okay, good. I'm good.
I'm good too.
How far did we go? Oh, 2.5 hours.
Easy peasy.
Uh-oh. Low battery. 29% remaining.
See, we made it.
Shit. Got it.
In the clear. Until next time, Jay.
Until next time, Matt.
Go fuck your mother.
Oh.